In the Northwest wild, hunting, fishing is my kind of style. I float the Wainuchi when it gets hot. I'm proud of all the things that I've got. I'm digging them moss bags up in the sand, and after work a cold beer in my hand, picking wild berries off God's land, and drinking my buddy's homemade wine. Living Northwest wild, hunting, fishing is my kind of style. I float the Wainuchi when it gets hot. I'm proud of all the things that I've got. I'm digging them moss bags up in the sand, and after work a cold beer in my hand, picking wild berries off God's land, and drinking my buddy's homemade wine. In the Northwest wild.
Hey, good evening and welcome FHN Northwest, Wayne England, and yes, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, Tommy Donlin, huh? Back in studio.
I'm glad to be back. Yeah.
Gosh, man, nice to have you back. The ocean said, go away for a couple of days.
Yeah.
Let the fish rest.
Give the fish a break.
Give the fish a break.
Yeah. Well, between that and and getting laryngitis, oh my God.
Yeah, there was that little
Lost
stint.
my vocal cords.
And I'm like, you're kidding, right?
Yeah.
You're not. And you're like, no,
I'm not kidding.
No.
Yeah.
So last week, yeah, that was me.
Yep.
Solo, but we got through it. You know, we got through it and raved reviews about that show. I mean, just off the chart.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, nice to have you back. We got some great content we're covering with you tonight specifically. Folks have been asking Tommy to, on the ocean fisheries, because we talk about them so much as of late, and obviously for this time of year we should be. How do you plan that ocean trip? What weather should I look at? Is it that important? What is a wave compared to a wind wave? How do I decide how big that wave is? What does it mean? Seconds in between, all that stuff, right? And if you haven't really drilled down on that and studied it a whole lot, it's confusing, right?
Yeah, and it's a really good safety discussion as well, because a lot of folks, they just go, well, hey, the weekend's coming up, I'm off work, I'm going fishing,
I'm going fishing, it's my day.
And unfortunately, it's really not that simple. So, what I hope to do tonight is help everybody kind of navigate, how to read the marine weather, what are the big things that I'm looking at, and then deciding for yourself, go or no go.
Yeah.
And when do you make that decision?
Yeah, so get out your iPads, get out your phone, get out your notepad, whatever it takes, but take some notes. And of course, once this is up and done, you can go back and review it as often as you need to. The information is going to be solid, and it's going to be very useful to keep you safe out there in the open ocean. Along with that, we have a member of our current staff.
We do.
That we've brought into the group here. You may have noticed on our webpage, we've started to build that catalog of workout videos.
Yes.
With Coach Mitch Depner, Mitch Kelly Depner. We'll get into that. Mitch Depner is here. He is currently employed Joint Base Fort Lewis McChord, and we'll get into all of that and the reasons why. But the resume is extensive, and there's a reason he's teamed up with us here at FishHunt Northwest. And yes, Tommy, as you and I advocate for, fitness is important in the outdoors.
Yeah.
Especially to be able to enjoy the outdoors and maximize your opportunities. Sometimes physical fitness truly comes into play.
Well, and we're only 2.5 months away from archery elk.
Yeah.
Okay. Arguably one of the most challenging hunts that you're going to do.
Yeah.
Especially with, you've still got that warmer weather pattern kind of lingering around.
Yep.
And plus it's just elk hunting, right? Elk do
just
not
the whole deal.
Stand by the side of the road and wait for you to drive up with your bow. And we just hold on 1 second here.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's a lot of chase involved there. And so you got to be ready for it, right?
Often you talk to folks who first time out on the tuna grounds, make a long run out, they get beat up, they spend a day fighting tuna, they spend the next 2 or 3 days recovering. Lower back, hamstrings are all tightened up, they got a stiff lower back, can't hardly move. I'm telling you, trying to maintain a level of fitness so you can enjoy, maximize and enjoy the outdoors is important, especially as we age, especially as we become grandfathers and get up there in years. Hey, you got to take care of yourself. Mitch is going to...
So seasickness is the other thing.
Seasickness as well.
I had a guy on my boat a couple years ago from the Midwest, and I mean, we were salmon fishing, right? We really weren't going that far offshore, 15 miles, sick as a dog, didn't feel well. Ocean conditions really weren't that bad. Loses 60 pounds, comes back a couple years later, no problem.
No
whatsoever.
issues. Yeah.
So, if you maintain that level of fitness, there's something about that, the weight training mixed with the cardiovascular training that just prepares people to be out on the ocean.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say you're more stable.
Right, you are way more stable.
Way more stable.
And let's face it, when you're out there in the ocean and there's even a 6-foot swell and a 2-foot wind chop, which is pretty standard issue normal, for halibut fishing, you're getting worked all day long.
Yep. Yeah. If you don't go home tired, you're not doing it right.
Right.
But so we want to and have planned to and now finally are including within our repertoire of all the things we bring here at Fish Hunt Northwest, including the recipes of the week, because we want you eating healthy and taking advantage of what it is you harvest and maximize that opportunity and flavors. That couples in eating healthy and maintaining your weight and workout regimen and staying fit, enjoying the outdoors. It's all encompassing. It all ties together. So Coach Depner has jumped on board. He is part of our team, much like Chef Jeff Maxfield, and together, collectively, we're all working on this thing together. So we'll introduce Mitch here later on the show, and we got a couple of great segments dialed in with him to get tuned up. So we have that, and of course, you're also going to do a fantastic presentation in the bait lab.
Nope. Sorry.
What happened?
That's me.
Oh, that's
little
slightly delayed.
Mute button there.
What I was going to say before I was so rudely interrupted.
Yeah, my apologies.
Well, a couple weeks out of studio, what you get.
Yeah, right. I'm a newbie now.
So we are getting you back in the Bay Lab. Ocean Fisheries open on Saturday, the 19th. You and I had a great conversation relative to deep water Chinook fishing.
Yep.
This isn't your 80 foot on the wire. This could be your 400 foot on the wire.
Yep, or 500.
Or 500. Completely different animal. Ocean Fisheries for Chinook. The opener is Saturday, the 19th. Tommy's going to get you spooled up on some really, really finite and proven technique points. They're going to help you find success on the ocean if you do dare go out there and go chase those early Chinook. So really looking forward to that. Of course, we got tons of other information to get through and to. So before we get too far along, I want to remind everybody, first of all, thank you for joining us. We got a great number of folks joining in here this evening, saying hi to JB Brown, John Cruz checking in, Jay Senyan, nice to see you guys. David Butterfield signing in. Haven't talked to him, for a couple hours. So David's doing great. Nice to see him dialing in. So you guys joining in here tonight, you got questions, fire them away. Josh is behind the board over there. We will answer as many of these questions that come in as we try to do each and every week, so keep those coming. I want to remind everybody that Fish Hunt Northwest is presented by Better Homes and Gardens Pacific Commons Real Estate, located in Puyallup, Washington. Joe Maxwell and team, they handled us, Tommy. They got us into that second property and a rental unit we got up and going now, so that's fantastic. Of course, Bremerton, the home of our good friends, Defiance Marine. Defiance Marine manufactures the Arima, Defiance, and of course the Allied series, which we are so fond of. Check out everything they have going on at defiancemarine.com. And Phoenix Protective Corp, www.phoenixprotectivecorp.com. Check out what they have going on. Go to their website. If you're looking for work in previous military or police, you are a candidate to be hired for a fantastic company, and we're going to get a little more involved with them as they have launched their 2021 Freedom Ride. Actually, it's for the 2020 fallen officers across the nation. So JC and the gang, Lauren Culp is even involved with this Freedom Ride. They're taking the Harleys, they're touring the towns, they're doing in remembrance of the fallen officers from 2020. If you haven't checked out the 2020 Freedom Ride, please do so. End of watch, EOW. Check out everything they have going on. You'll see the commercial here about mid-show. We put that on. Really good cause, and pay attention to that commercial. Donate if you can. End of watch and 2020 Freedom Ride. All right. With that, we had some openings yesterday that actually performed pretty well. Okay? And I was stuck at work. How about you?
Yeah. Same here.
Yeah, same here. So Area 10, Area 11, a lot of folks were surprised by the fact that we have a Chinook retention Area 11.
Yep.
Opening on June 16th, which coincides with the opening of resident coho in Area 10. Typically, we see that opening of Area 10 for resident coho towards the 1st of June.
Right.
This time they delayed it a couple weeks. This is part of the agreed to fisheries. Great opportunity out there in Area 11. It's performing fairly well. Those that have it dialed are doing pretty doggone good.
Yeah, guys are getting fish.
Guys are
pretty
getting
consistently.
fish. Seeing some pretty nice Chinook out there. Area 10, a little hit and miss for the resident coho, Tommy. There are even a few suspended Chinook. Guys that are chasing those resident coho, we're talking 3 to 4 pound fish, 2 pound fish, 2 to 4. They're not the migratory ocean coho, but they are the resident coho that are provided by WDFW. So we have opportunity on those resident coho, which are fantastic. If you've never done that fishery, do yourself a favor. We did it last year with kokanee rods.
That's the way to do it.
That's the way to do it. Take your kokanee rods, take the kids, get out there, stay in that upper water column. You can be out in that 300-foot water, but if you're fishing the upper 100 feet, you're probably going to find them. You are going to tussle with a Chinook periodically, though not a lot of the big Chinook are always up there. You'll get those 4 and 5 and 8 pound Chinook. You can get them in on your kokanee rod. It's no big deal. You definitely want to get them back in because you don't want to lose your Dodger or your Flasher.
Right.
So we will, in the next couple weeks, kind of dial that in, give you some technique points and some things to do as that fishery progresses over the next couple weeks as we brush up against the 1st of July. But the resident coho fishery is a fun one. And when you get out there with that kokanee gear, rods specifically, and small spoons, and you can control the 11-inch flashers, you can control the 8-inch Dodgers or Flashers. It all works. Just depends. Oftentimes you're finding fish 35, 50 feet down, maybe 75 on a good hot sunny day like today. But pay attention next week, midweek, we get some big tide swings. I was going to go fishing, but it's like, no, 13 foot.
Even for the coho?
Yeah, I mean, you're cruising along and it's probably fine, but I think I'm going to just hedge my bet, stay off the salt for a day and go chase some steelhead. So
there you go.
Because we just had all that rain, so we'll talk about that in a little bit as well. But Area 10 and 11 are open. People are catching fish. There are Chinook to be had in Area 11. People are talking about the 400 fish quota. There's a misunderstanding. We have about a 3,000 fish quota for Area 11. That 400 fish mention or buffer is just kind of gauging it as we get through June, those first couple weeks. If we encounter 400, is that rate at a pace that we're going to burn through the quota before we get into August? So they kind of gauge it based on that bumper, and they can do a mid-season management adjustment if they need to. They can already take a look at it and say, well, let's move it to 5 days a week now instead of a full-on 7. So that's just, they kind of use that to gauge the performance. So encounters do count. That's just the way they gauge that quota. So anyway, 10 and 11 are fishing pretty well for some folks. And if you got time, it's going to be crowded Sunday, but I think we're going to go do it.
Yeah, and we still got some halibut dates coming up. Westport, La Push, Nia Bay.
Yeah.
Marine areas 3 and 4 this weekend, right? Was open yesterday, or actually today.
Today, Thursday.
And is open this weekend as well, and then next week as well. So still got the halibut and lingcod machine going strong, and they are snappy.
They are snappy.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of them.
A lot of them.
Well, we didn't have a big impact on them last year.
Yeah.
Right?
No, and neither we didn't this year either.
Yeah, true, I mean, because of weather.
Because, well, the weather's a huge factor, and we're finally getting a little bit of a break on the weather. The other thing is that the ports of Nia Bay and La Push have been closed.
Yeah.
So people aren't able to get to them. The good news is there, though, the fishing inside the strait right now is performing extremely well, both right outside in front of Nia Bay and right out in front of CQ there.
And decent-sized fish.
And good-sized fish. Yeah.
So we do have that going for us. That's nice. And we got those extended dates we'll be able to jump on as well. As we get deeper into the summer, we have more opportunity in September. So lots of good things happening on the ocean. Can't wait for CQ to open for salmon.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, that is going to be pretty terrific.
Hopefully it's like it was last year. I swear last year those fish never showed up on Swiftsure Bank where we usually get them.
Yeah.
It's like all those fish just showed up right in front of CQ.
You guys are right inside.
I mean, we were going 2 miles out and boom, I mean, limits of kings right out in front.
It was amazing.
So, yeah, hopefully it's like that again.
Yeah, can't wait to get my boat out there.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
So, okay, moving along. Northwest Fishing Derby Series. Yes, folks, it's still around. They've had to make some adjustments, obviously, because we're at the tail end of the COVID restraints and opening things back up. So you'll see if you go to the Northwest Fishing Derby Series webpage, you're going to find that there's at least 8 derbies that are listed. Starting first and foremost, Tommy, Lake Coeur d'Alene Big One Fishing Derby, July 21st through the 25th. It's a 4-day derby. It's an annual derby, and it's kicking off the Derby Series this year. All the previous derbies prior to that were not authorized simply because we're just, finally getting out of this COVID stuff. Mm-hmm. Then you get into August. It's pretty much every weekend. Well, it's a busy 3-day weekend for sure. August 6th and 8th, Brewster Salmon Derby is going to be on fire. There's 77,000 Chinook coming back to the Brewster Pool with some sockeye opportunities. So that will be that should be a pretty successful derby opportunity. I'm trying to figure out if I can sneak on over there that week and then bounce back over here the following week. Mid-August we'll be down at Buoy 10. But August 6th and 8th, Brewster Salmon Derby should be on fire. August 7th, South King County PSA Derby. That's always a fun one. And there's some nice Chinook that come out of that South King County area, that Area 11 and whatnot.
Area 11.
Way in one location will be Point Defiance, of course, as it is every year. August 14th, the following weekend, Gig Harbor PSA Derby, also a very good one. August 24th, like I said, every weekend. These are one-day events. Salmon for Soldiers has become a huge event that's well recognized in the Pacific Northwest. Proud of those guys that put all the effort into that one. September 11th, Edmonds Coho Derby is back. Edmonds Coho Derby is going to be well attended, I guarantee it. One, because of the numbers of coho that are coming back. Two, people haven't been out fishing, so got a great opportunity there. September 17 through 19, Resurrection Derby, and of course the culmination of it all, the big Chilada, the boat giveaway that they didn't give away last year. They held on to it to push it on through till this year.
Yeah.
So the entrants are many. Including last year's couple derbies towards the end of the season that they were able to have, plus this handful of 8 derbies that qualify you for the boat drawing, plus all the other prizes. That Everett Coho Derby is a huge event. We're going to check the calendar. We're going to try to see if we can sneak up on that one. That'd be pretty fun. So September 25, 26, Everett Coho Derby. It's going to be a great time. So we'll probably have Carson here on the phone in the next few weeks, kind of run down some of this stuff and talk about what we can look forward to and how well attended they're proposing these events will probably be. So I'm telling you, there's pent-up frustration, Tommy.
There is.
The guys hadn't been out fishing these derbies last year, so it's like, oh, heck yeah, we're going this year, right? So
we need to talk to him about expanding the Derby Series into the ocean.
You think so?
Yeah.
You think that'd be worth it?
Yep. We need to have a tuna series.
Could you imagine?
Yeah, of course.
Oh yeah, you could.
Absolutely, I can imagine.
We have crab dates announced as well. We'll try to get to those towards the end of the show as we close it out. We'll cover those crab dates. We got openings coming up. Really, some pretty lengthy seasons once you start talking from July 1st through September.
Yeah.
So we got some great summer crab opportunity in a number of areas. So lots of things to look forward to. Things are opening up. We're getting access on the water. Fishing, for the most part, has been pretty decent in certain areas, and it's just going to continue to improve. Columbia River still fishing well in certain areas in some regards. So lots going on, lots to get to. All right, we're going to jump out for a quick break. And when we come back, we are going to introduce you to our buddy, Mitch Kelly Depner. Well, Mitch Depner, Coach Depner as we refer to him. You probably, if you've spent any time on our webpage as of late, you're noticing that we're starting to build that library, that catalog under our fitness and WOD tab. Workout of the day, that's all getting put up there on our webpage, fishhuntnw.com. Go to there, check it out. Check out all the different categories you can peruse there. Check out the shop here, shop now. You get this fine display of hats. You got options, and we got the new tuna series all posted up. Lots of good wares there at our webpage, but also the fitness stuff and the recipes and all that's going on there and the how-tos. It's all there. It's all at fishhuntnw.com. So we'll jump out for a quick break. We come back, I'm going to introduce you to Coach Depner right here at Fish Hunt Northwest.
Marine is the one-stop shop for the Pacific Northwest angler. Whether you are looking for a small skiff to fish the sound or rivers or a huge offshore tuna machine, Defiance Marine has it. At Defiance Marine, be sure to power your boat with a Honda outboard package. Take advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty on your Honda outboards. Our service department is always here to help and serve you as the customer. Did you know Defiance Marine has boat financing experts to help get you the best term rates on your new boat purchase? If you need financing for that new boat, call us today. We guarantee the best price, best service on a repower for your current boat. Defiance Marine is a Honda Premier dealership and one of the largest on the West Coast. Defiance Marine also carries all the gear that you will need. Everything from auxiliary kicker motors to fishing tackle and bait. Defiance Marine has certified technicians that are top-notch at their job. Some of the best in the Pacific Northwest at evaluating your boat issues and problems. Stop in today or give us a call for all your needs at Defiance Marine.
Today, the need for quality private security services is at an all-time high. Contract Security Service provides day-to-day peace of mind as they protect people and property. Here at Phoenix, we provide service for multiple state and federal contracts with services ranging from uniform, patrol, alarm monitoring, canine detection, executive protection, as well as investigative work. Phoenix client management models are built on understanding our clients' security needs and responding with a tailored program that is best fit for them. Phoenix provides excellent customer service through well-trained, highly motivated security professionals. Recruiting highly qualified officers is the first step in building a strong team. Currently, we are comprised of 70% prior law enforcement and military veterans. If you are prior military or law enforcement, go to www.phoenixprotectivecorps.com and apply today.
Hey, welcome back, FHN Northwest to New England. Tommy Donlin and Coach Depner. Coach Mitch Depner, not Coach Mitch Kelly Depner.
No, yeah.
So the confusion when you read your Facebook page.
Yeah.
If we can just get through this right now and put it to rest.
Yes.
You know. Hey. Well, first of all, you get. I should be careful how I say this. You know, a lot of ladies will put on their first name, their maiden name, and their current marriage last name. So you read yours. You know, Mitch Kelly Depner, I'm thinking, well, Kelly's his middle name. I mean,
right, yeah. He wants everybody to know that he's super Irish.
Yeah. Right,
yeah. Mitch,
oh,
Mitch Kelly.
Mitch Kelly Depner, right?
Yeah.
Oh, welcome
top of the morning to you.
Welcome to the gym, Mitch Kelly Depner. So, in reading that, then and at the time, when we first started kind of corresponding on social media, we had Chef Kelly. Previously, we had Kelly Barnum as my co-host, and I thought, we're bringing another Kelly into the family, right? Yeah. So Mitch Kelly Depner, Mitch Depner, Coach Depner. That's why I refer to you as Coach Depner, because it's just straight across.
So Kelly is your wife's name.
Kelly's my wife's name, so it's actually, I don't mind being called Mitch Kelly. That's my better half anyway, right?
There you go.
I put it in there to help my stocks. So.
Well, okay, Coach Kelly.
There you go. See,
that's how we'll do it.
Yeah.
Let's kind of just, I don't know, let's introduce you to the folks and you know, extensive background. My gosh, I mean, I sit there and listen to you talk, and I'm like, you lost me after sentence number 2.
I soak it up, man. I've been enjoying the discussion.
So, if you have perused our webpage, you'll see we're starting to post up information from Coach, and it's not just workouts. There'll be insightful bits of information spewing out of his mouth on different systems, and I wrote down some things here because I'm beginning to post those up now. You know, you talk about recovery, talk about getting strong, mobility, getting ready for the pack out. So it's not just like, hey, follow Coach Depner on this workout regimen, try to keep up. You have a kind of a clinical mind about it. There's a process. You break down different systems. You're very methodical in that. And we're going to be able to present that information so people understand in 2 and 3 minute little bits and pieces. So that is all drawn from your extensive history, which is extensive. So let's talk a little bit about where you come from and how you developed all that stuff in your head.
Well, honestly, I just developed a love for fitness and training. Just being an athlete growing up, like a lot of people go through high school sports, and I was fortunate enough to play football in college, and I was a smaller guy, but I excelled in the weight room, and I went on to get my kinesiology degree in exercise physiology and progressed that into a master's degree down the road. And I just loved what it brought to just your life in general. So I excelled there. So that's where my love for it came about, because I just enjoyed it. And as a small guy, I was better in the weight room than I probably was on the football field. So so I that's just where I started the joy of it. And I was going to be a college football coach. That was my plan, and that's where I started. And I had a couple spots there early on in my career, and it just morphed into strength conditioning, and that's where I stuck for many years. And that world's kind of like a rock star lifestyle a little bit, where you move around a lot and you go to different colleges and you win. You go to another college and you move around. So
because you're basically recruited.
Yeah, I mean, you get recruited, or you're on a good squad, and the head football coach goes, and you go with them, and
Gotcha.
So or you move up divisions or move. So we got to move around a lot, and it exposed me to a lot. And in the strength and conditioning world as well, you just don't just deal with football, which a lot of people think. Some of my favorite sports were on the Olympic side, where you got to deal with, men's and women's basketball, track, gymnastics, any sport you can think of that college offers. The strength and conditioning coaches are over those entities, which Tommy knows.
Yeah.
So
now hold on one second there. Everybody knows basketball players don't lift, right? Pencil neck. Okay. I saw that the basketball at Nebraska, I would see the guys coming in the gym, right? Into the weight room.
Yeah.
And then they would exit.
Yeah,
right.
Log on through,
and then go back to the court, right?
Until you talk to the Michael Jordans of the world, right? That's why those guys excelled, because they knew how important it was for their body, and that's why they played as long as they did, right?
Maintain a level of fitness year round.
Injury prevention,
right?
Injury prevention,
huge, and that's what I wanted to bring to the outdoors. You just how do you extend your quality of life, and how do you stay in the field? And my grandpa's kind of an inspiration to myself, where he's 93 years old, and I think the last time I went hunting with him, he was probably early 80s.
Oh yeah,
but he was still out there doing it. He said it took him a little longer to get there, but he's going to go. So but he actually was a guy that kept fit his whole life. So it's, I want to be that guy as well, where I'm taking my grandkids out and getting out there in the outdoors, and I want to bring that to to everybody out there. I just realized it wasn't a market tapped in the fitness world, which you see it's saturated everywhere. You see fitness stuff everywhere. Some of it's good, a lot of it's bad. You don't see it in the outdoors a lot, and with hunters and fishers, and you just don't see it that much. So I wanted to help bring that back.
And that's unfortunate, because this is not just about working out. This is about growing a mentality. Okay, so whether you're out there on the boat 50 miles offshore and the weather gets bad, I have found that the harder I work out and prepare myself for that day on the water, or if I'm, up the mountain 15 miles in the backcountry, it doesn't really matter either way. If you haven't had that experience and you expended a lot of energy to get to that one point, but now you're out there, you start to question yourself. You start to question, well, should I even be here, right? Or what am I doing? Or you start to say, well, this is dangerous, right? You start to convince yourself, talk yourself out of that hunt, or talk yourself out of that fishing trip. But I found that you harden yourself in the off season through working out.
Absolutely.
And then when you go into that season, whether it's a football season or whether it's an elk season or whether it's a tuna season, you are mentally prepared to conquer that day.
Yep, absolutely. Or even you see a lot of guys will go out and do a hard hike one day, get out there, get 6-7 miles on their legs. Maybe day 2 in elk season they hit 6 or 7. Day 3, maybe they don't want to go as far. And day 4, they're like, you know what, I'm just going to
I'm just going to hang here and camp.
Hang it up, and that's the day the elk are moving, and so they miss their opportunities. So. Or the hunters out there, you don't see a lot of youth getting trained, and you don't see a lot of things geared toward that young 20-year-old, 25, 30-year-old guy that can get after it. But you want to get people in their 50s, 60s, 70s still out there and getting out there in the trails and doing it too.
Well, what's amazing is we'll spend so much money on everything that's involved in, like, let's talk about elk hunting, whether it's archery or rifle. That fall, go in, pack in, set up camp, we're going to be at elk camp for a week, and that scenario plays out. You get 1 or 2 days on the boots, and then you're 2 or 3 days in camp because you're just like, man, I am not. This was a lot easier a couple of years ago, but boy, my age is catching up with me. No, your age isn't catching up with you.
You quit working out.
You just quit working out, and you just take it for granted. And hey, we've been doing the elk thing for a number of years, and 365 days is a long time for your body to continue to go this way.
Absolutely.
And trust me, I know. I got lazy and put on an extra 35 pounds, and I wasn't happy. And I was trying to do things, and it was uncomfortable. And that's a big difference. So for persons who are passionate about the outdoors, and they find themselves kind of on the decline on the physical side of things, but they really still have that passion. You know, this is all about regaining that mobility and ability and getting yourself ready and equipped to conquer it and not let it defeat you and not let it ruin your plans, not let it ruin your day, not let the animal you didn't bag be a result of simply because you weren't physically prepared.
Absolutely.
Right? So,
Absolutely.
Holistic Health and Fitness Program Director for Joint Base McCord in Fort Lewis. I had to write that down because it's a pretty lengthy title.
Yeah.
As you said, in parentheses, AKA also known as Tactical Strength Coach Director, right? So, Holistic Health and Fitness Program Director for Joint Base. How do you come from the sports world, college level, and next thing you know, you are a citizen hire out there at Joint Base, non-military. You don't have military in your background, right?
No, I don't.
Yeah,
No, do not.
And you're a civilian hire, and you're overseeing this program. And let me just spill the beans. The program you introduced at Joint Base has gone nationwide.
Yeah, I mean, I can't get into a whole lot of particulars about the nuts and bolts, but the government did a great job. They recognized the need that we needed to take care of our troops better, and we know that strength conditioning has been around a long time. So we have the science there. We have the background. It's been successful when we train our Olympians, when we train our pro sport athletes, our collegiate athletes. So the government got smart and they brought us in. So there's a handful of bases, about 9, that started on a pilot handful of years ago, and I was fortunate to be part of that process, and we showed our worth, and that's where we're at. So coming into it wasn't a plan. I never thought I'd come to the world. So it was definitely I'm super excited to be part of the group and be part of helping these guys out.
I like how you said that, showing your worth, in that it equates to dollars in value in dollar loss or saved, and the enormous amount of money saved from lack of injury, soldiers with time off, recouping from injury, rehab, surgeries, all those things. There's like a percentage of injury that's happening year in and year out. Introduce Coach Depner's program, great reduction in those specific events and injuries specific to the tasks they're asked to do and perform, and the proof's in the pudding.
No, it's working. It's working. And there's been I'm definitely not going to take credit for it. We've had phenomenal coaches all across the country that implemented their programs. I was fortunate enough to be the lead out there at the base out there, and it's morphed into a different position now. So, which I'm excited about, because now that I'm not in football seasons every year, it opens up my fall to hunt more. So it's fantastic. Yeah. So I can't argue with the results.
I'm pretty excited about. So your approach is a lot different than maybe your run-of-the-mill strength and conditioning coach, where you are really getting into the science behind the movements and what your body is doing. Like, you give it an input, you're doing a given lift, right, or exercise, or you're doing a certain amount of reps, or you're doing a certain amount of sets, you've got a certain amount of rest. You get into like the energy level and the biomechanics of what the body's doing, right? And you're considering all phases of, it's one thing to go in and do the workout, but the recovery is a whole nother thing. And you've talking with you, what I've learned is you really break it down and you get into the nitty gritty detail when you design these workouts.
No, absolutely. People look at working out, like I call it training, right? We're training. And so whatever you're training for, you have to focus on that and have deliberate intentions in training for what you're your goals. And part of training methods, people forget that recovery is part of training. It's not something you do. Eating correctly isn't something you do. It's part of your training.
It's part of the regimen.
So it's got to be part. So you have to deliberately, intentionally plan every phase of that out. And that comes down to, am I going to plan when I get enough sleep? Do I plan when I get enough recovery? How am I going to recover properly? Not just what am I going to do for recovery. So, my approach in my career has been put the people first, right? A lot of guys out there are selling a lot of training programs because they're trying to make money. I'm trying to make better people. So if your focus is on who you're training, it's just so rewarding to see people 10, 20 years down the road, and they're still healthy, they're still lifting, they're still working out, they're still doing what they love, they're healthy for their family and be able to take care of their family. So that's the goal, right? To make sure we're training people so they can do what they love for as long as they possibly can. And you have to focus on all those, everything. You got to bring everything under the sun underneath that and focus on it. But once you do that, the love for it just increases.
Yeah.
And then
Right.
that's a way of life, and that's how you do things. And so,
Well, and you and I had several conversations building up into this, idea, because Tommy and I had gone back and forth. Hey, we want to somehow interject fitness into the outdoors, and I had started a campaign years ago, back when I was a diehard gym rat, 6 days a week, 2 hours a day, just getting after it when I was young and dumb. Get fit, get outdoors. It just to me, it made sense. It's like you get fit, and then you can go outside and play, right?
Yeah.
So get fit, get outdoors. You can go out and conquer what it is you want to do. You can go hard all day long and get out of bed the next day not sore, not work, nothing's holding you back, keeping you down, because you've prepared for whatever event is that you're taking on. People are like, how can you be sore from fishing? There's guys that will, the drift boat sits in the driveway all year long. You get into fall season, or even, we're summer on steelhead season now. You spend a day rowing on the river, and then you spend 3-4 days with a sore lower back, hamstrings all tight, shoulders worn out tight. Because you haven't prepared for that. It's been sitting there all year, and apparently you have been too, right? Even though you have that passion, and you're no longer 22 where you get up the next day, you just go to work, no big deal. You're 50 plus, for some people 35 and over. At 35, the aches and pains are starting. A lot of that, doesn't a lot of that have to do also with what did you do the first 20 years? Did you play football? Did you wrestle? Did you have injuries? Have you had broken bones and surgeries and recovery? Because doesn't that later in life kind of weigh in on some of the stuff you'll experience or feel?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Or you got a lot of guys out there on the other side that have trained, they have worked hard, but they just done it wrong. And so they've overtrained themselves, and now they're having issues because of it. Or the other side, like you said, is maybe you haven't spent your 20s or your 30s preparing. Now things are starting to break down, and you think it's time I need to start, which is great.
Sure.
But if you it's never too late to start. Whether you're 20, 30, even teenagers. It's always been this misconception that you can't lift weights when you're a child. That's actually false. That's something that America's kind of adopted, and we're getting away.
I am so glad to hear you say that.
And we're getting away from that. It's absolutely safe. It's just got to do it right. You're not going to max it. You're not going to put a max amount of weight on a bar for a child, because he doesn't have the hormone production. But you know what I mean. You definitely want to lift him.
Honey, I'm coming home. We're getting Junior a weight set. We're starting tomorrow.
Just do it. We need it. We need to start meddling in there.
Young Thomas is going to be cleaning and jerking in no time. Well, there's a definite crossover here between fitness and strength and cardio conditioning and all the different systems you speak of, and how you relate it to taking care of yourself, dietary intake, losing weight. I have already had multiple conversations with Tommy with people like, yeah, man, I've been kind of waiting to see what you guys are going to do, because I got to lose 30 pounds before elk season. And it's like, well, if you're waiting for us just to open this box and say, here you go, it's like you got to get busy. It's going to be here before we know it. If you're not doing nothing right now today, you still have time. You'll definitely be in better shape, strength-wise, condition-wise, ability to spend a day hiking than you will if you wait another 2 or 3 weeks. But that window's closing quickly. So, all right. Well, we got more to cover with you and how this all ties in with FHN Northwest, the kind of direction we're going with the Get Fit, Get Outdoors. And as we develop this whole concept and idea and push it out there to the masses via our webpage to link folks with you and become part of your program ultimately, and get in that top-notch shape so they can continue to enjoy the outdoors and get fit and get outside. So, okay, we'll jump out with a quick break. Tommy, we come back, we're going to have a little discussion on ocean fisheries, planning your trip, how to read weather,
how to read the water,
right?
Yep,
all that
it's going to be a good discussion.
I'm excited about this. So don't go anywhere. During the break, reach out there, tell your friends to join us. This is going to be some fantastic information they're not going to want to miss. So get a hold of them, bring them on board for the party, and we'll be back in about 90 seconds right here at FHN Northwest.
An Outdoor Emporium is the largest local outfitter in the Northwest since 1975, providing thousands of people affordable outdoor gear. This summer, make your next outdoor adventure more affordable by shopping at our warehouse-style pricing. We are a local Scotty dealer, offering sales, service, and repair. Located in Fife and Seattle, come visit us today. The outdoors await you.
easier than ever to browse homes and connect with an agent on the go with Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate's mobile app. With the app, your home search is synced across all of your devices, so you can pick up your home search anytime, anywhere. Take full advantage of an enriched, mobile-optimized map search experience. Use location services to quickly find homes near you that match your search criteria. Draw your own map boundaries to find homes in a specific area, and apply layers to view school districts, neighborhoods, zip codes, and more. The app's user-friendly design makes it easier than ever to find a home you'll love. Narrow down your search results, save your search criteria, and save your favorite homes. You can browse your saved homes in a list view that puts photos and key details like price and square footage right at your fingertips. Or check out your saved homes displayed on the map.
Yep, for sure. Oh yeah, big fish. Yeah, buddy. Nice fish. Oh, beauty. Gorgeous fish.
Bobby's on the board.
We got a good one.
Oh yeah. Oh. No, geez, come on.
Nice fish. Nice fish.
Welcome back, Fish on Northwest. Wayne England, Tommy Donlin, and Coach Depner in the house this evening. So glad you're here.
Happy to be here. This is awesome.
Yeah, man. We got a lot of stuff we're going to be doing. Take a little break from the fitness talk. Tommy, you are front and center, my man. So folks have been asking, and for good reason, because in that engineer head of yours, there's a lot of detailed information, which you rely on before you even drive to where your boat is moored.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Walk us through your process. How do you get there?
Yeah, and so, this segment really is going to be dedicated to talking about the marine weather. And there's a few components to that. And, my goal for this segment is to kind of walk you through a typical, process of getting to the trip, right? I typically start looking at the weather about a week before a trip. I've got a couple different sources that I use for weather. NOAA is one. NOAA Marine Weather is one. If you type in NOAA West Coast Marine Forecast, you'll find the link. You'll click on it. It'll have a map of the West Coast of the United States. You find Washington, and then you find the area that you're going to fish out of. The sound is broken up kind of in different zones, and then for the coast, you've got kind of near shore, the 0 to 10 mile forecast, and then the 10 to 60, and then the 60 to 200, right? Most of the time for our halibut fishing, or if we're salmon fishing offshore, I'm looking at the 10 to 60. So the NOAA forecast is one thing that I look at, and then I've also got an app on my phone. Windy's a good app. Sailflow is a good app, and that's really going to tell you what what the wind waves are, what direction it's coming from, when it's going to happen, that kind of thing. And you can kind of see an interactive map every 3 hours, and it's going to give you that segmented view of each day, and you can kind of look out and beyond. The thing that I'll say is that when you plan these trips, a lot of people like to call the trip off because of weather early. Mm-hmm. They'll be 3 days out and they'll say, oh, it looks bad, cancel. Oh, I'm 2 days out, cancel. I do not cancel a trip due to weather until 2 days, the day before we're going to leave. So if we got
24 hours out.
Correct.
24 hours out.
And I try to pull it as late as possible, because you really want to see consistency in the data between NOAA, Sailflow, Windy, the different apps that are out there, before you really make the call. Mm-hmm. The other thing is they're flat out wrong. So if it's like a borderline forecast, I'm going to go no matter what. because a lot of times you're seeing maybe a little bit of conservatism in the weather.
Sure.
And then we just go. The reason that I fish halibut and lingcod out of Nia Bay or CQ this year is because I've always got an option, right? If I go around the corner and I go offshore from Tatoosh out to some of the offshore halibut spots and the weather's just miserable, I can always turn around and come back in. And fish the inside. I can fish the garbage dump, or I can fish, east of Nia Bay. I can fish off Pillar Point if I'm fishing out of CQ. So I like to have that option of being able to run back inside and kind of hide behind some of the structure. Vancouver Island, if you've got a northwest wind, Vancouver Island blocks a lot of that wind and swell. And if you've got a south wind, then of course, Cape Flattery and all the associated structure in the Olympic Peninsula really blocks a lot of that south wind. So, once you get inside the strait, it really only gets nasty if you're getting like that east wind that's coming the opposite direction, or if you've got a west wind that's going right down the pipe of the strait. But even then, at the western end of the strait, if it's a west wind, it's still pretty solid. I think, one of the things that you have to take into consideration is port of choice, right? If you're tuna fishing, you're pretty much going to go out of, if you're in Washington, Oregon, you're pretty much going to go out of, Westport, Ilwaco. Oregon's got a few more ports south, Depot Bay. But, if we're talking like Westport or Ilwaco, you're coming out of an active river bar situation.
Right.
Okay. So the bar is always something that you have to consider and keep in mind. The Columbia River bar, because of the size and magnitude of the Columbia River, that is always going to be a much deeper reaching impact, I'll say. Mm-hmm. So in terms of how far out that river influences the ocean, I've been in the Astoria Canyon, 20 plus miles out, and I've seen effects from the Columbia River that far offshore.
Is that right?
That's right. That's right.
Holy cow.
I think it was 2013. We went offshore. It was nasty. It was a tuna tournament, but we were going, and we got out there about 25 miles, and it was just completely nasty. It was blowing. We had a considerable swell. I mean, every wave was coming on in the windshield. I mean, it was like I was in a submarine instead of a boat. And when you can't even see where you're going, I mean, that kind of, you're going about 8 knots and you can't see. That's pretty bad.
Yeah.
So we got out on the deck and we looked around, and of course, I asked the crew, I'm like, hey, what do you guys think? Because I like to get, other people's opinions to kind of check my own, just make sure I'm not making a bad decision. And everybody was shaking their head. Yeah, this is bad. We should probably head back. Except for, of course, Jerry, right? Jerry's like, I want to go tuna fishing. I want to go tuna fishing, Yeah. I'm like, Jerry, sit down. Your opinion doesn't count. We turn around. We get about 5 miles back, and there is a wall of water, like 6 to 8 foot breaking waves in the middle of the ocean. And it was like a line. It's like somebody drew a line north to south. From the river? From the river. North to south, because when that river ebbs, when the water is coming out of the river, and you get a conflicting swell or conflicting wind, and they collide, it stacks up like crazy.
That makes sense.
I saw that. It was the craziest thing that I saw, just like a wall. Like somebody drew a line north to south, and along that line, 6 to 8 foot breakers. We actually had to go straight south to get around that wall.
Did you have to go around?
Yeah.
So you got back up till you could cross back over?
You have to get out of the influence of the river.
Yeah.
Now, the Westport bar is nowhere near as bad as the Columbia River bar. And it's really only bad if you have that ebb, right? So if you're running, and even out in Nia Bay, especially when you're fishing like Swiftsure Bank for salmon, or you're just in the strait, if you've got a really huge ebb and you've got a big incoming swell that can make it into the strait, you're going to have a bar-like condition.
For those that don't know, explain or define definition of ebb, flood.
Yeah, so ebb is basically, and it doesn't necessarily coincide with the tide. We're really talking about the current, so the direction of the current. And so when you have an ebb current, or an ebb, I'll just say an ebb current, it's basically the water is exiting the Puget Sound, it's exiting the Strait of Guadalupe, it's going out, it's going west. And if you got a flood, water is coming in, it's filling the sound, it's filling the strait, you have a flood.
Yep.
That's kind of an easy way to think about it, right? And you can't just say, well, we were at a high tide an hour ago, we're going to a low tide, so it should start ebbing. Well, yeah, in a perfect scenario, yes, but tides and currents don't match up, especially when you get out into the strait and you get out into the ocean, you know, specifically.
Yeah.
You really want to watch for that ebb. Now, the other thing that I'll say is that a lot of people want to know, well, how do I run my boat? Okay. And there's definitely some right and wrong things to do, especially when it comes to a bad following sea, but I want to cover the head sea first. So you're going out there and you've got a considerable chop, right? Maybe it's a 3-foot wind wave that for the area that you have to get to, you're running straight into. I've found that for a lot of our, you know, pilot house style boat with the deep V, I really want that bow to be down. Okay. The reason for the bow to be down is that I don't want to come off the top of the wave and sky the bow up in the air and then slam the boat down, right? I want the boat to push down on the wave and basically maintain that I'll just call it neutral attitude, right? If you start bowing up into a lot of that, you won't get as much spray, but what'll end up happening is you're going to come off of a wave and then you're going to get some air, boom, right? You're going to be slamming
There's
down.
nothing underneath you.
Right.
You're coming down.
Yep.
Right?
And so I tab down into a head sea. And then when we're coming back, we have a following sea, especially when we have a bad following sea. What you want to do, and it's really important, is if it's bad, and I mean, if you think it's bad, right, you've got a 10-foot swell and maybe the period's super tight, and it's coming from behind you, you have to get the weight in the boat to the back of the boat. So if you're tuna fishing, for example, you really don't want to put the weight like in the bow, on the pulpit, anywhere forward of that center line, you know, that center of gravity of the boat, or that, you know, pivot point. You want it to be sitting in the butt end, because in the butt end of the boat, you have the least amount of dead rise. Okay. So on my boat, it's a 22-degree dead rise, but the front is a 45-degree entry. If you put the weight in the front and you're coming down a following swell, what'll happen is you'll dip the front of the boat into the water, and all of a sudden that wave will bow steer you, and it will pitch pull you. So it'll take your boat, and maybe you're going to run, you know, straight into the camera, let's say. It'll take you and basically turn you left or turn you right, and then roll the boat. And so it's really important to get the weight in the back, keep the bow high. So this is a bow high scenario. And if you've got a quartering swell, you always want to tab into it. So if the swell is coming from my port, I'm going to put my right bow up and my port bow, my starboard bow up, my port bow down, and I'm going to basically, like a surfer, you see how a surfer leans into a wave? Yeah. That's how you're going to ensure that you don't get rolled the other way.
Right. Makes sense.
Now, if it's really bad and you're not comfortable running on plane in a following sea, I would say if you can, just slow down to 5 knots, 6 knots, and just slowly go in. Let those waves pass underneath you. But that method, again, it's going to take you a long time to get back. The other thing I'll say is that if you've got a following sea that's going directly towards your port, I hate running a sea that's directly behind me, and a really bad one, right? And so I'll tack, right? I'll tack north, tack south, tack north, tack south, so that it's not directly behind me.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Break it down for folks when they start pulling up these marine forecasts, ocean forecasts, and they see wave height, wind wave, duration. What does all that mean? What does it mean when you stack those waves and wind waves on top of each other and it exceeds your timing and all that? How do they make sense of that?
Yep. So with a forecast, with the NOAA forecast, what you're going to see is swell and wind. Okay. You're going to see the two components. Each component has a magnitude and a direction to it. So it'll say, west swell, and it'll say 8-foot swell, and then it's going to give you a period at 8 seconds, right? And so that 8 seconds is basically from peak to peak between the waves, or trough to trough, same thing. But basically your period, peak to peak, from one wave to the next, is going to be an 8-second duration. Okay. Now, there's a couple rules that you should be aware of. If the duration is less than the height for a swell, it's typically going to be crappy. Okay, like if you get an 8-foot swell at 7 seconds, it's going to be, you're going to be up, you're going to be down, you're going to be up, you're going to be down.
Every 7 seconds.
There's going to be water
Just
on the windshield.
Put that in perspective, right? Every 7 seconds.
Every 7 seconds.
Yep.
The caveat to that is then when the swells get really big and you get like a 12-foot swell at 11 seconds, if there's no wind, it's really not a big deal. You got these big rollers.
Yeah.
They're big, but they're spaced out. That's, and typically when we see that, we start to get into like October. Some of our tuna trips late in the year, we'll start to see those type of swells. October is a really iffy month to fish tuna. Like you could have one day it's not going to happen no matter what. The next day is perfect, and then boom, you're back to a horrible day. So it really gets iffy then. But okay, so that's the swell, right? Now, then you have the wind. Okay, so you're going to have a wind magnitude, and NOAA will give it to you in terms of ranges. They'll say, 10 knots or less, or they'll say 5 to 15 or 15 to 25, 25 to 35. If the wind and the swell combination is bad enough, they're going to call that a small craft advisory, or they're going to give it a gale warning. Okay, I fished a lot of small craft advisories before. Just because NOAA gives it a small craft advisory doesn't necessarily mean that it's I don't feel it's unsafe for me with my skills and my boat to go offshore.
Yeah.
It really depends on the captain and the boat and the people on that boat. But effectively, when you look at a wind wave, your 10 to 20 is going to give you a 1 to 3 foot wind wave. 15 to 25 is going to give you a 2 to 3 foot wind wave. Okay. When it gets really snotty is when we get the south blow, but you get a northwest swell or a west swell. Again, same thing with the bar. If you have opposing forces, it's going to get stacked up and it's going to be a washing machine. So you get a south wind that's 10 to 20 and you combine it with a 6-foot swell out of the northwest or the west, you're going to have some pretty sloppy conditions. That's going to be just rough in general.
Yeah. What should folks key in on then? It's like, if I have say a 20-foot boat. Oh, I do. I have a 21-foot boat. If I have an 18-foot boat, 20-foot boat, I want to go across the bar at Westport.
Yeah.
What kind of days should I kind of gauge to say, this will be safe for me to cross the bar and go out there and enjoy a day of fishing?
Yep. So let's see. So you're going out of Westport and your 21-footer, Allied. You're going to look at the swell, okay, and you're going to look at the ebb current. I use Deep Zoom for my current. Deep Zoom. Yep. And it's a web app that I pull up, and it basically gives you magnitude of current, shows you the location, and shows you what time it's going to be at that magnitude. If you've got a large ebb flow in the morning, and say max ebb is at 6 a.m. right when you want to leave, and it's 4 knots, and you look at the swell forecast for the 0 to 10, and it says it's going to be an 8-foot swell, well, I would tell you to just either you got to sleep in, or you're going to be going out in the dark at 4 a.m. or earlier, right?
3 a.m.
So typically, if you give yourself, general rule of thumb, again, there's always exceptions, but if you give yourself 2 hours on either side of that max ebb, and at Westport, you can look up, there's kind of it's a observatory tower, watchtower that you can climb up and you can see the bar. And when there's an 8-foot swell inshore and it's ebbing 4 knots or 5 knots, you're going to have breakers all the way across the bar. Now there's some shortcuts at Westport that I will say you should experience on a calm day first, but on that south jetty, at the end of the visible jetty, there is a hole there before it gets to what we call the sunken jetty, right? So you can have waves breaking on the sunken jetty, but just inside of there, you've got a 15-yard gap to where you can actually get through. It gets pretty exciting.
Oh, yeah.
And
it's a hole shot. You got
to hit it just right.
Yep.
If you do it on a negative tide and you hit the wrong swell, your props could end up in the rocks underneath you.
Oh, yeah.
And so you got to learn how to run that. There's definitely some ways to get around the bar, but maybe we'll save that for another discussion.
Yeah,
you got to get a little bit of experience first.
Yeah.
But again, what you're looking for is how fast is it ebbing? When is max ebb? When is the water flowing out at the greatest speed? What's the magnitude of that? If max ebb is only 2 knots and you've got a 4-foot swell, I mean, you're going for it.
Yeah.
And then the wind waves, no problem. I'd fish anything, even in your 21 footer, 10 to 20 knots or less. That's kind of a no-brainer for me.
Yeah.
Unless it's coming out of the south and you've got a considerable swell out of the west or the northwest. But if it's northwest swell, 5 feet, northwest wind or west wind, 10 to 20, that's a fishable condition.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
And even on the bar, you just want to watch your timing and go just a little bit later, and you'll be perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Get all that, Mitch?
I just realized that I probably shouldn't be piloting a boat out there, so I'm gonna go with you guys. I'm from Montana originally, so
okay. Yeah, there's no wagon talk or wheels, right? We aren't putting in hay or anything like that. We're getting out in the ocean. So
put it out in the lake, and I'm
good stuff, buddy. Hey, so lots of folks saying thank you, Tommy. Good information. I may task you with actually putting a breakdown on our Facebook page. Just and we'll link some of the links that you use. We'll get a good description on there. I know you folks will follow it. So that was a lot to absorb. Tommy's top notch when it comes to that stuff. Ask your questions. Hit us up on Messenger. Hit us up on our Facebook page. If you're watching via YouTube, you can message us there as well. We answer all those as often as we can. So appreciate that, buddy. Good stuff. Going to jump out for a quick 90-second or so break. We come back. Coach Depner, you are back in the hot seat. We want to kind of dial this all in to you working with us, getting folks involved, drawing them in to participate, follow you via your outlets and how they can stay in contact with you and follow your regimen and how that's going to equate to better fitness, more enjoyment in the outdoors. We'll talk a little bit about nutrition in the sense of, some Kickstarter programs we've been using to get that 30 pounds off that just is like, get rid of it. Now I'm back to working out. It feels really good. Huge difference than having 30 pounds on, slugging along in that treadmill, just waiting for it to disappear. Yeah. I wasn't cutting it anymore at 55, so I had to take some drastic measures. So we went drastic, but it's working, I'm telling you. So lots more to get into here with Coach Depner. Stay tuned. Jump out for a quick 90 seconds or so. We'll be back right here in studio at FHN Northwest.
A Northwest favorite for almost 40 years, Arima boats are manufactured with pride right here in Bremerton, Washington. Arima Boats offers all of our boats with Honda outboard packages so that you can take full advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty from your Honda outboard. With literally thousands of Arima boats on the water throughout the Pacific Northwest, Arima boats are a proven hull design that offers incredible fuel economy and all of the amenities that a serious angler is looking for. All Arima boats are built without any structural wood materials. That is why we back our boats with a lifetime warranty. All of our Arima boats are designed to maximize deck space while also providing ample seating. Contact us today at Arima Boats for all your boating needs and let us help you get out on the water.
End of Watch Ride to Remember is a group from the state of Washington traveling across the country to honor fallen officers from 2019. End of Watch organizer Jagrut Shah says they want to show departments who've lost partners and friends they are not alone.
I wanted to bridge this gap that we have and bring back to the department, let the deputies or the officers know that their lost has not been forgotten.
In 2019, 146 officers were killed in the line of duty. An End of Watch Ride to Remember is on a mission to pay their respects to each of them.
For us, it's just important realizing that the men and women in blue everywhere should remember that they haven't been forgotten. We're not forgetting them. We want the families to know that their loved ones have not been forgotten.
Hey, welcome back, Fish Hunt Northwest. We're here in studio with Coach Depner and Mitch. Got a number of things to kind of talk about here. I think before the last break, kind of made a mention of if folks haven't been doing anything as of late and they want to get ready for hunting season, it's really not too little too late right now. They still got time.
Oh, they got time. They definitely got time. I mean, you never want to wait, right? I mean, even getting a couple weeks in prior to you going could even help, but the sooner you start, the better off you're going to be. You never know how long your season's going to be, right? You might be going into a late season this year, and you got to keep going. So.
Well, that's a valid point, and you may not be getting ready for the archery elk, but you might be getting ready for the rifle elk, which gives you even more time to prepare.
Absolutely.
You might be thinking of hiking into the backcountry to go after some mule deer. You still have time to prepare. So, I mean, we still have plenty of time to get ready for whatever event it is you're going to take on. Let's talk a little about the philosophies behind hiking versus packing out. You know, am I more suited to get in really good cardio condition because I'm gonna go hike 8 to 10 miles a day, moderate to steep terrain at times, plan to put down an animal and then at some point pack that out of there? Or do I need strength? Do I need overall conditioning? How do I put a program together that's gonna get me the end results I want for that goal I have set?
Well, I mean, it's pretty cliche when you say you need all of it, but you do.
Yeah.
But the way you go about it is how you want to approach it. A lot of people think if I'm going to go out and I'm going to hike out an animal, I need to get in great cardio shape, and they go out and put a ton of miles on their legs, and all they do is cardio work, which is beneficial because you need that for recovery. You know, you're going to need that O2 capacity as you're packing things out. But people miss the mark when it comes to hiking out elk. Where it starts is the foundation of being strong. Mm-hmm. So the stronger you get, you know, with your deadlifts, with your squats, with your hinge squat, your push pulls, and training yourself to do loaded carries, so you're bracing correctly. The stronger you get, and the stronger the system is, it's less work per step when you're hiking something out.
And when you say strength, are you talking? You're not just talking leg strength. You have to be talking core strength.
It's the whole body,
right?
Because the true definition of strength that I like using is. Can your body maintain that postural position under any load? Right? So if you have a pack on, you're carrying an animal out, you got something on your shoulder, you're carrying your gun, you're carrying your bow for 10 miles, can you maintain good postural positions and good mechanics as you're doing whatever you're doing without breaking down those mechanics and having injuries? So it's a total body system.
As I listen to that and I visualize that postural positioning, as you fatigue and the legs get tired and you kind of start dropping a little bit in a squat as you're walking versus being upright and strong, you start bending over at the waist, and so that load is being like driven to your lower back now because you're hunched over versus up and strong. Is that what you're kind of talking about, that posture positioning?
Absolutely. As you know, if you're not in shape, you're going to fatigue faster.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to fatigue at some point if you push the limit.
Sure.
But how do you stretch that out and increase your odds of preventing injuries, right? So the stronger you are, you can maintain those positions. A lot of times when people are hiking too, when they get tired, they overstride. So because they're trying to cover more distance per step, and when you do that, you take a step out, and you're really having to grab through your hamstring and pull, and that goes into the back, and it's just a chain reaction when you're overstriding when you're hiking, versus being, I'm strong, I can handle this, I got 10 more miles to go, that's fine, I'm gonna take one step at a time, versus trying to just get it over with because you're already tired. But again, that comes back to strength. You know, a lot of people just miss the mark of getting strong. Just getting strong. Getting strong is going to help your cardio because you're going to be able to do those cardio events. And you don't have to do cardio by just running either. putting a lot of stress to the joints is what you're trying to avoid. You can get cardio shape without ever stepping a foot on a treadmill or running, right? It's good. I mean, it's definitely good for you. Right. If your body's in a position to do it, it's great. But as I've gotten older and things happen, I try to make sure I do that in different ways so I can maintain that joint integrity. But the key is getting strong. So just to put it in simple terms, if I'm not strong and I take a step with an elk on my back, I might be exerting full max effort for each step I take. So I'm going to get tired faster, and I'm going to really need that cardio because I'm going to be huffing and puffing. But if I'm strong and I'm stronger, that step is going to be less workload on you. Right. So you're not going to have to dive into that cardio world as quickly. Eventually you will, right, depending on how far you are. So the key is just getting strong with that foundation, building in that cardio capacity, being able, there's different energy systems too we've talked about in depth, but in a nutshell, there's 3 of them. There's not just cardio. And so the ability for your body to take the lactate it has and reuse it for energy is key as well. People think lactate's a byproduct. They think it's what makes your muscles sore. It's not. It's not. They think it's what makes your muscles burn. It's not. Those are myths. Your body will try to reuse that for energy. And if you train that system too, you're going to recover faster. So that you can get back in the hunt quicker as well. Because you're going to get tired at times, right? Sometimes you're going to have to take a break, especially if you got 80 pounds in your pack. And
what triggers your body in its ability to burn those different fuel sources or systems? Your training and your heart rate levels going up and down, or what triggers that?
Yeah, when you're actually hunting, what triggers it?
Or it's like if I have lactic acid buildup, right? When it builds up. I mean, growing up, working out all the time, it's like, oh yeah, you're sore because all the lactic acid buildup in your quads. Yeah. It's like, oh, okay, so I'm a believer. I mean, that's what I've been taught, right? You're telling me I could actually burn that off.
Everyone has a lactate threshold. And even Usain Bolt, it doesn't matter. Right. If you're working hard enough, and back to the heart rate thing like you're mentioning, if you're working at max heart rate, your lactate threshold is going to hit its ceiling eventually. And everybody's is different. Okay, but if you train that system, your body will learn to reuse some of that for energy. You can't use it all. Sure. But what it'll do is it'll flush it out better. I kind of use the analogy as a bathtub. If your body's a bathtub and you fill that bathtub up with lactate, which you reach your lactate threshold, you can't do anything about that. But I can make that drain bigger. I can make it flush out.
Oh, there you go.
I can over
get rid of it faster, right?
And so you recover faster.
Gotcha. Okay.
So you are going out on the 4th day of the hunt, and you're not, you're not
stuck back in camp.
But that does happen with heart rate, and if you learn to train and monitor your heart rate where it should be, you learn how to pace yourself better when you're in the backcountry too, right? So there's a lot of guys that just get after it, not thinking like, if I keep this pace, I'm not going to go very much longer. Right. But if you train and you're training prior to getting to the field, you learn your body. You learn what it can handle, what it can't, and so it's going to lengthen that hunt as well.
The other point about heart rate, I think, is really important, and it kind of underlines fitness as a requirement for hunts, and that is that and I'll never forget my first elk hunt. I wasn't in shape, but I was committed to the hunt in other areas, right? I was like, I'm going to do this. I don't care how many days it takes or how painful it is. Well, I got in front of that first elk on like day 6, and my heart was racing so fast that the crosshairs were doing this, okay? Like they were on the animal, off the animal, all over the place, circles. Right? Yeah. And there's a lot to be said for working out in a manner where you can drive your heart rate to rest, right? Hike up a mountain and then get back to a resting heart rate as fast as possible so that you can make a clean shot that's not affected by your lack of cardio strength.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just an example, myself and my son Hunter got to go out in Idaho this last year. He drew a cow tag, and we were going to a spot that we'd saw elk the day before, and then not even a couple hundred yards in, we saw some elk going up the ridge. And we had a little knoll we wanted to get behind. We knew we could get behind it before the elk could see us, so we just took off. We definitely, it's the first time I probably hit a dead sprint when I'm out hunting, but we got there, got on the hill, and he got a chance to get on him. Yeah. He got a nice 6x6 in his scope, but he didn't have the bull tag. He didn't ever get a cow because they'd already crested. Oh, yeah. But we would have never gotten that stuff in our position. You're right. To get you to recover, to get there, slow your heart down, get the animal in your crosshairs, get ready to go. So, recovery is a huge piece of this too, so you can extend the hunt.
So you're talking about strength, the importance of strength. How do we get strong? How do we get strong for that hike in, that pack out? How do we maintain that strength that we're not just relying on cardio to get the job done.
You got to do progressive overload, and what I mean by that, you got to pick up a barbell. You got to pick up weight. You know, you see a lot of programs out there do a lot of HIIT type programs. You know, interval training, which is good. There's a time and place for that. That's another way to get some cardio shape, to develop a little bit of muscle and endurance. But if you want to get strong, you got to put some weight on the bar. You got to move some weight, and you don't have to do it for very many reps either. That's a lot of things a lot of times people go to where they can't go anymore, and they don't realize they're actually breaking themselves down versus actually building strength. Because building strength is a neurological response as well. It's just not my muscle work, and it takes your central nervous system and everything firing to the right, you know, on all cylinders to make sure you develop some strength. So you know, you got to make sure you take care of the body, and it's really, really simple as far as the skeleton. If you're hinging, you're squatting, you're pushing, you're pulling, you're doing some loaded carries, and you're taking care of your posterior chain, which is behind your body, you know, your hamstrings, your glutes, you know, your low back. You're taking care of that. You're good. But how you go about that? That's the challenging part, right? A lot of times people undertrain themselves. Most people that love the outdoors, especially elk hunters that get out there, typically overtrain themselves. And so just knowing the right volume, the right intensity, you know, the right format, where to place those, when to do your cardio events or your running, or, you know, when you're working your energy systems with what you're doing with, you know, with your lifts is very important, because your body uses ATP for energy, but it takes a while for that to replenish too. So if you never let the glass fill back up again, your next bout's not going to be as well. So there's a balance there, making sure you're doing that right.
We got a really good question here, and I like this question. Because I think for guys that have been on hunts and some long hunts, it's applicable. I've definitely been in this camp before. Cramps. Okay. There's this thought that I'm doing a lot of hiking, or maybe I'm riding a bike, right? And I get a hamstring cramp, right? I'm cramping up. And there's this kind of thought out there, maybe it's a myth, that, you just need to drink more water. And then pretty soon, you know, that individual may get into worse shape, right? Because now they've flushed their electrolytes out. What's your thought on that? Like, how do you address cramps? And I have my own thoughts, like, hey, you need to prepare more and work out before the season. But how do you address that cramping situation?
Okay. I'm not a nutritionist, but I've obviously had to be around it for a lot of years. Hydration is what everybody first goes to, right? And that is key. Those electrolytes are key. Potassium, is a bigger factor if you're lacking in potassium for cramping. There's probably some people out there that might have a lot more knowledge than I do on this, but you're not wrong when it comes to the training portion of it either, right? A lot of times cramps happen because you're lacking in potassium, lacking in hydration, but you're lacking in that fitness. So then your central nervous system, those neurons aren't firing all cylinders. So then all of a sudden a cramp happens. So, but you can train that out of it, where if you're training your system correctly, that neurological response is there prior to you getting in the field. So I think you are right when it comes to that. But the other side is nutrition, and then the other side is sleep, right? Like you got to plan that even on your hunts. You know, if you're going on a 5-6 day hunt, you got to make sure you're getting your sleep. It's tough because you're coming back late in the dark and you're heading out early, you know. But there's something to be said for making planned naps throughout the day. It's a good skill to learn how to use. So that goes along with it. It takes the whole holistic view of nutrition, sleep, recovery, training right, making sure you're putting the right foods in your system. Is going to help with those cramps. Hopefully that answers the question there. And then sometimes, you know what? Sometimes cramps just happen. Right? Because it's like game day, right? You can practice all week long, and your body's still not doing exactly what it happens in a game. Your endorphins aren't kicking off, you're not having the adrenaline going, your hormones are doing a little different things. So sometimes just the thrill of the hunt, your body reacts a little bit different. So sometimes this is going to happen.
Coach Depner, cramps happen.
Deal with it. There's the bumper sticker. There's
cramps
the bumper sticker.
How important is it maintaining flexibility, stretching? Does that help prevent injury? Does it help with recovery? Is flexibility and stretching important when you're done working out, pre-workout? Is there room for that? Is it something to consider?
Oh, it's probably one of the most important things. That it's a lost art. So warming up properly is very, very, very important. You have to warm up properly, but you kind of like like I did in high school, right? Even my first handful of years as a coach, as a young coach, I was doing a lot of static stretching where you hold that hamstring for 20 seconds, right? You don't want to do any static stretching before any type of training.
When you're stone cold just getting started, just don't start off with static stretch.
You don't even ever really have to do static stretching, to be honest with you. There's some time and places for it a little bit, but to do dynamic warm-ups, which some of the videos we have there, taking your body through that range of motion, full range of motion is key. Yes, you absolutely have to stay mobile. You know, when we took college athletes in, people always wanted to tell us how strong they were coming out of high school. And I was like, I really don't care how strong you are, because we're going to have you for 4 or 5 years. We're going to get you strong. I want to know how well you can bend. If you can't move, you can't play, right? So it's the same thing. If you can't get out of the tent in the morning or put that pack on, or get your knee above 90 degrees to climb the mountain, then you're not going to play. So it's mobility is where it starts. And that's where a lot of my coaching methods come in is, well, I want to teach you how to do it right, how to move correctly, have correct movement patterns. Because if you're not moving correctly, I don't care how strong you are, because if you're moving heavy weight in a dysfunctional movement pattern, then it's no good, right? Half squats don't count. So, you know what I mean? Core squats don't count. So if you're not going full depth and you can't get there, let's get there. That's all right. You might not be there yet, but it's get you there. So the mobility is so huge. And when it comes to the recovery, the cool down piece afterwards, I mean, you could do some static stretching out there if you want. There's a lot of research out there that says that actually doing static stretching after exercise actually doesn't increase mobility because you're already stretched out. You've already gone through this range of motion. But it can help with soreness a little bit. So that's where we use those tools a little bit sometimes. But everybody responds to stimulus differently as well. Some people like that stretching afterwards. The old school guys like to jump in the ice bath. Some guys like getting on the foam roller. You know, going getting food and taking a nap is probably the best recovery you can get. Sleeping food.
I like that one. I vote for
write that down.
I vote for C.
Go get food. Which I'm in that group. You're welcome.
Go get food. Take a nap. So work out. Go get food. Take a nap.
So sleep and food is your best recovery methods you can possibly get.
I like that.
That's it.
We got one gentleman on here, Tommy, asking, for older guys, men and women that can't push a lot of weight around. So we're talking about moving weight to get strong. How do we get strong if we can't move a lot of weight?
Well, I think that there's a myth in that too. What's a lot of weight, right? So some guy might think that 500 pounds on a back squat's a lot of weight. But to someone else, 185 pounds is a lot of weight. That's fine. That's fine. Well, how much actually weight do you need to get, and how strong do you really have to be to hunt? Okay, you're going to go at your pace. That not one size doesn't fit all. So it doesn't matter what your age is. You can get stronger. You can progress to the overload. It just might take you longer, right? I'm not progressing myself in 6 weeks like I used to when I was young, right? It might take me 6 months to get to my goal. So the biggest factor you see as you get older is your movement's not as well. Right, you lose mobility. Your connective tissues they get a little stiffer, so it's harder to create that mobility. But you can get it back. It's just going to take you longer. It might take you 2 years to get the movement pattern you were in 10 years ago, and that's okay. Because if you get to that point, man, you're going to feel so much better. So you can. So there's nothing wrong with lifting. You just got to do the proper progressions. You know, maybe you're not starting with a back squat, and you're not starting with the front squat. Maybe you're just starting with a goblet squat instead, or even a body weight squat. And then you progress from that on the way up. And if it's too much, then you regress again. And that's okay.
So we may back it all the way down just to movement.
That movement is where
mobility.
That's where I'd start with the older population and maybe have what I call a young training age, where they haven't trained. You know, sometimes there's guys in their 50s that haven't started training. They've never really trained. And that's okay. And if you're doing body weight stuff at that point, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Because the best way to learn how to squat is to squat. You know, if you want to get mobility in a squat, doing stretches and mobility and rolling on a foam roller, stuff is great. You really want to get good at squats and squat. You know, it's almost like you want to get fast, you better run. So, you know, so you can do drills all day long. But in reality, you got to actually get out there and do it.
What's that whole thing? Person's shoulder width stand, they go down to do a squat, they bend way over at the waist, or their heels come off the floor because they're so tight. Their hip flexors are tight. They're, you know, everything's just tight. They're just bound up. And until they get rid of all those hitches in their ability to move through that movement cleanly, they shouldn't even be touching weight. Is that right?
I mean, absolutely. The movement's the key. I mean, even when we take Division I athletes and even NFL guys, and if they've had a break, you know, and they bring them back on in, we'll do an assessment with them, see how they're moving.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, you bring in this young Blue Star 18-year-old kid on into an athletic field. He doesn't mean that he's moving really well. He might be really athletic.
Yeah.
So we're going to start him. He might be on a PVC pipe for 2 months.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's an 18-year-old kid.
Building mobility.
Right? So
building flexibility.
Everybody's chapter 1's different chapter 1, but everyone has to start at chapter 1.
I witnessed that entire thing. I actually had the opportunity years ago, gosh, it might have been 20 years ago, to do some fitness training with the Bellarmine Prep football team.
Okay.
And I went in there because I was really into working out back then and way more in depth into it than I am nowadays. But went in there, met with the coach. He's like, yeah, man, we'd like to have you come on board and, you know, get these kids through their summer conditioning program. So can you produce a program? Yeah, I'll write a program. And so the first 2 days I went in there just to observe. And they're doing their squats and they're doing their deadlifts and they're doing their cleans and stuff. And these kids are stacking up the bar and they're doing quarter squats. And so then coach introduced me to them and I had to talk to the whole group.
Yeah.
I said, tomorrow when we show up, we are wiping the slate clean, okay? Nobody's progressing anywhere until we can get through this movement ability and that you guys can go down full squat and go back up and flexibility. And I had them running and doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so a lot of them started over with a dowel.
Yeah.
Right? To get through the movement, and then we started adding the bar, then we started adding weights, and by the time we were done with the summer program, they were squatting more full squat than they were at the quarter squat at the start when they were cheating, having crappy form, doing the whole deal.
Yeah.
So I get the whole movement, mobility thing and how important that is, and as we age, we get more rigid, balance gets off, all those things. You got to go back and reconnect all that stuff with your central nervous system to get through that movement.
Yeah.
I understand that because having worked out for so much and then take a couple years off and come back to do it, it's a different environment.
It really is, and life catches up with you. And just a simple thing is, you know, ankle mobility. People are like, man, my back hurts. Well, let me check your ankles out. What do you check my ankles out
That's
for?
a good point.
Because if you can't bend down and your heels are coming off the ground, it's going to the knees, going to the hips, it's going to the back. So it's got the energy's got to go somewhere, right?
Yeah.
It's got to enter, and a lot of times it exits your back. So we got to, you know, look at the mobility issues. That's
was told planks are really good for core strength.
Absolutely. I'm a firm believer in anti-flexion, extension, and rotational type movements. Anti is a plank, right?
Yeah.
A hollow body hold, and you're on your back and not moving.
Yep.
Side planks, or you got a band, what we call a pull-off press. It's going to the side, and you drive it out, and you're anti, not letting yourself rotate. I'm a huge believer in that because your spine's actually not really meant to move very much. If you look at your lower spine, you really don't want to move it more than 10 to 12 degrees. So, you know, sit-ups, I haven't prescribed a sit-up in over a decade. A regular old school sit-up.
Right.
I haven't. Because I sat down with a surgeon from BYU at a clinic years ago, and he says the way they test the spine is they take a pig cadaver, which looks like a lot like a human spine, funny enough, and they make it do sit-ups till it breaks. And I'm like, if that's how they're finding a way to break it, so if that's how they're studying the disc in the back, I'm not doing it anymore. So
I stopped doing sit-ups years ago. As I got older, my belly got in the way. Right?
That's the real reason. But you can plank all day long and you can progress planks.
Right.
You can load it with weight as you get stronger at it. You can increase time with it.
Yeah.
Very easy to do. You can do it anywhere.
Yeah.
No, planks. I'm a plank fanatic. I love it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So yeah, lots of good. How do big boys work on their stomach?
It's not related to working out. It's related to diet.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a dietary thing.
Six packs are made in the kitchen, right?
Yeah.
That's what they say. But you know, I mean, in reality, we focus too much on body. You know, our looks, aesthetics, especially in this country. The big key is if you're putting in the work and you're putting in consistent work and you're paying attention to your body, you're paying attention to what you're putting in your body. And it's not so much about like how many calories am I putting in, but how am I feeling, right? How do I feel?
Yeah.
And you really start paying attention to when you're hungry, when you're full, when you know how I feel after workout, how am I recovering from this?
Right.
Over time, you start becoming a well-oiled machine, and you pay attention to your body. Then 2 years down the road, you're like, oh, wait a minute, like I did cut some of that weight I wanted.
Yep.
You know, without having to worry about that. You know, the key is taking care of the whole body, and if you do it right, those kind of things will take care of themselves.
The nutritional side of things, I mean, you can work your ass off in the gym, and if you're just eating like everything and anything, it's really hard to go the direction you're trying to go. It's very hard to lose weight. It's very hard to lean down. Yeah. You might be getting bigger and stronger, but you're also continuing to pack on the fat. It's kind of counterproductive. It's just, that all comes back to what you're eating. And I, as of late, dropping 30, 35 pounds, jumping on a program, as a, hey man, I just need to hammer this and get rid of this weight. Yeah. Again, I kind of mentioned it earlier, but I can't tell you the difference I felt now getting back to working out, having that excess weight off, and just it's a game changer. And that was before I stepped foot back in the gym or anything. Dietary control, smaller portions, multiple times a day, getting into a scheduled eating routine throughout the day. And I really realized at this point now at 55, there's a portion and there's a plate. Yeah. And all too often I have the plate, and the plate doesn't suit me anymore. I love food. Yeah. My wife is an amazing cook.
I found that out tonight. Holy cow.
And Tommy will tell you week in, week out, right? And Josh, we all enjoy Shing's food. She's amazing, and I could eat till, but that being said, I recognize portion control versus plate control, and you really have to minimize it down. And then going through this process of getting all this crap out of my body and eating clean and dropping the extra weight, I realized how much overeating I was doing. Yeah. How many extra calories a day I'm taking in. Yeah. Now as I get back into working out, I have a sense of, I do need a few more calories now. I'm going to double up on this shake packet, or I'm going to double up on this because I can, because I just burned how many calories off here in my workout, and I need recovery. I need proteins and a balance for recovery, right? Yeah. So it's a balancing act. I spent many years with the mindset, I'm going to work out hard, and I'm going to eat that because I'm going to hit the treadmill tomorrow for 45 minutes.
Yeah, I just want an extra 40 minutes tomorrow, right?
Right. So and how many times have you heard that? Yeah. And then what happens is the next day comes up, I'm like, I ain't got 45 minutes. So it starts to, it's that following sea. It just starts building on you, and next thing you know, you're several pounds overweight. So it's a balance. But man, the workout stuff and tying it into folks here in the outdoors. Now, this is the beauty of this is on our webpage, we're going to continue to post Coach Depner's routines. Some of them will be partial routines. Yeah. The goal here is to drive them to you as the coach. Yeah. The goal here is to drive them to you and your programs, to bring them to you so they can be interactive with you online, get the programs on their phones, follow the workout regimens. And it's not just like workout regimens. You're curtailing these programs to get us fit to enjoy the activities we're speaking of in the outdoors.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're getting folks ready to pack that elk out of the woods. You're getting folks ready to do that 5, 10, 12-mile hike. Dakota, that's right. Take you for 12 miles one day, son, and try to keep up with the old man. Yeah. We can go out and do 10 or 12 miles, go back, sleep, get up the next day and do it again because you're designing programs that are beneficial to us to achieve our goals in the outdoors.
No, absolutely. And that's on the rack, that's the business I just up and started, the rack, Backcountry Humor Performance. With that, the first program I wanted to build was the elk program. Yeah. Right, to design for that. Just like you do in sports, right? I'm not going to train a basketball player the same way I would do a football player, right? So each, I don't want to call it sport, but if you look at hunting as a sport, you got elk hunting, you got mule deer hunting, you got fishing, you got halibut fishing, you got salmon fishing. Yep. They're all going to take different requirements. Right. You're going to need to do the hinge, squat, push, pull, but how you do your volume, how you train your energy system is key. And so that's the first program I put out. And as I push this thing forward, I'm going to continue to put out different programs, but they're not going to come out every other day because it's easy to slap together. There's a lot of guys out there that just slap something on paper and sell it because you can put 1 million reps on a piece of paper and someone thinks they had a good workout because they're tired. Yeah. Being tired doesn't mean you had a good workout. Right. So I'm making sure that I'm putting the good proper science behind it. So when you see a product on there and you see it, it's well thought out. I've navigated the intensities, the volume controls, what you're actually trying to do.
I'm telling you guys, there's a reason. There's a reason. This isn't just CrossFit, hey, if we get on here and do the workout of the day and then
kill yourself,
destroy your shoulders, and now you're in surgery and whatever else. So
I do have one question though. Yeah. Would you, you were talking about, looking at the seasons like sports. Yeah. Would you say that kokanee fishing is like bowling or ping pong?
You know what? If
Careful.
I'm careful here. We had a discussion during the break, right? About,
Be very careful, Mitch.
So I'm going to go ahead and say I think kokanee fishing is like kokanee fishing.
There you go.
Okay, all right. That was skirted around that a little bit.
Because being a guy from Montana, Idaho area, right? I've done a lot of trout fishing and I've done a lot of big game hunting.
Right.
But the kokanee hasn't hit.
The kokanee has eluded you.
Yeah, it's eluded me. So
you'll come to the dark side, my friend, very soon.
When you're ready to play ping pong, let us know.
You come to the dark side very soon. These workouts, you'll come up with some catchy names like the Pack Out, the Elk Squad. Tommy's waiting for the Spawner. He's that salmon.
The Spawner. Is that a bedroom workout or what?
Yeah. So there's gonna be a halibut one I'm gonna name on it. I talked about putting the tuna one on there. So awesome. there's gonna be some fish names to these workouts.
Okay. The tuna workout's gonna be heavy on biceps and back. Biceps and back, lower back and hams because I tell you what, Jerry's got the record on my boat. We put up 117 tuna in 3 hours about 2 years ago. And he caught 34 tuna.
Holy cow.
Oh, my word.
And the average tuna is about 18 pounds.
Yeah.
And so that's a pretty mean pump, pumping that rod over and over again. Got to have a lot of back and buys in that workout.
We'll bring the arm farm in there, though.
Arm farm. I love it. Yes.
We'll bring the arm farm back. And
arm farm.
All you got to do is water them, and they'll make them grow. Right?
I love it. The arm farm. All right. Man, good stuff, Mitch. So glad you came in, introduced you to the folks and kind of the direction we're heading here at Fish on Northwest. The workout regime is, that bottle is uncorked, and we're just going to continue to put it out there, and we're going to steer folks towards you and your platform. And as you continue to develop these workouts as we go through season, that's what you're doing. You're taking on the seasons as they're coming and say, hey, how do we get ready for this? How do we get ready for this? And that's kind of our goal collectively. So really looking forward to it. Tommy and I are going to jump on some of these programs here in the next couple of weeks and really start getting after it. So would love you folks to join us. Be interactive on our Facebook page. Go to the RAC Facebook page, and then from there you can lead them down that path of success.
It's super simple. Right now I kicked out the first one this week, and it's the RAC Backcountry Humor Performance on Facebook. I got on Instagram. Just DM me. This is what you want to do, and honestly, this is fun for me. So you're getting a deal this year, obviously, to jump on this deal, and you send me your email, I send you it, you get the whole workout right on your phone, everything's right there.
Perfect.
It's pretty simple, and there's even videos attached to it to show you what the exercises are, so you know what they are. So
well, this was all of a 30-minute segment. So
I know,
that's like a record,
and there's
but we
so
couldn't
much
stop
more.
talking because it's the information just keeps coming. There's so many things to discuss and cover, but fantastic job. So folks appreciate it here too, Mitch. So really good. All right, we'll jump out for a quick 90-second, 2-minute break, something like that. We come back. Tommy, you're on stage once again, front and center, my friend.
Yes.
Ocean Fisheries open Saturday the 19th. You have opportunity for Chinook out in the deep water. Tommy here is going to spool you up and get you dialed in on exactly some definite go-to things for success, some proven techniques and tactics, if you will, over the years. We're talking deep water Chinook fishing 300, 400, 500 feet on the downrigger. How do you find fish? How do you find success? Tommy Donlin in the bait lab. We come back right here at Fish on Northwest. Allied boats are built by West Coast fishermen for West Coast fishermen. Deep V 21-degree dead rise at the transom guarantees a smooth ride no matter the conditions. Allied offers all of our boats with Honda outboard packages so that you can take full advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty from your Honda outboard. Allied boats range from 19 to 32 foot in length, so no matter what type of heavy gauge boat you are looking for, we have it for you. All of our Corsair 21-foot and larger designs come standard with reverse chine that is welded inside and out with no extrusions below the waterline, so that you will never have to worry about corrosion problems down the road. Get out on the water today in a boat that you can trust and enjoy with Allied Boats. Contact us at Allied Boats today to learn much more about our incredible fishing machines.
New days, new beginnings, new friends, new loves, new dreams, new goals. new scenery, new job. No matter what the next chapter holds, Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate will be there to help you find the new that's right for your lifestyle at any stage of your life. Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate. Expect better.
Welcome back. Tommy Donlin in the bait lab, doing another great session here. This is brought to you by Max Lure. All right, tonight we're going to talk about trolling for salmon, trolling for kings, but we're going to do it deep water style. We've got an opener coming up this Saturday. You know, the commercial fleet's already out there. We've seen them, they're fishing pretty deep. We've seen them in some spots where they're getting fish in that 300 to 500 foot level. So I want to talk through that process about, you know, just because those guys are running 40-pound downrigger balls or 40-pound balls, 50-pound even balls, on their riggers, you can do the same thing with your sport fishing setup. So I want to talk through the equipment, of course. An integral part to that, and really where it all starts, is your downrigger. And so what I've got here, this is the Scotty 2106 downrigger. You're going to notice the first thing, I've got the boom extended all the way out. When you are fishing deep, typically in order to keep it clean and not put too much gear into the water and then risk a tangle, you want to have those booms extended all the way on each side of your boat. So I wouldn't do it with some of the models that come with the shorter boom. I'd really try to go with either the 1106 or 2106 model from Scotty and really get that boom extended all the way out so that you have gear separation. The other thing that you're going to see on the table is I've got a 15-pound downrigger ball. Now I will tell you that with these 2106s, I wouldn't go any lighter than 15. In fact, I would actually recommend a 20-pound ball. These things have all of the power required to pull that 21-pound or 20-pound ball up and down as many times as you need. So I wouldn't worry about it being too much. The other thing is with that 20-pound ball, you're going to be able to get the lines a little bit further below the boat, not so much blown back behind the boat. And so it really pays to have that 20-pound ball. What happens when you run a 15-pound ball, or, you know, especially if you're running 12 or even 10, but if you start running those light downrigger balls, it's going to play a mental trick on you. You're going to look at the downrigger wire and say you go to 400 on the rigger. Okay, you let all that line out. You're going to look at the scope on that line, and it's going to be so scoped out behind the boat that you're going to slow the boat down to bring that angle in. That is not what you want to do, okay? Because what ends up happening is, you got to remember, especially when the rotational flashers, the 360 flashers, in order to create that full 360-degree rotation, you have to be going a certain speed, okay? Speed over water needs to be at least 2 knots typically in order to get that flasher to rotate. So you don't want to slow down the boat. The thing that you have to remember, even when you're running a 20-pound ball and you do have some scope, you want to maintain your speed. What you see on the surface of the water is not actually representative of the angle of that downrigger line as it makes its way all the way to the ball. Okay, so you got to remember that. Keep your speed no matter what. I've been out fishing offshore a lot of times where we're running the riggers pretty deep, and I get calls from my buddy about, how are you getting these kings? How are you getting them? Because all I'm getting is halibut, or all I'm getting is lingcod, or I'm getting flounder, or I'm getting these rockfish, right? Well, that's because you're going too slow. So you have to keep your speed. And especially for ocean salmon fishing, I like a little bit faster troll. So I'm trolling 2.5 knots at least, okay? So you got to keep that in mind. The other thing that makes this system really work is what you load the spool with. So a lot of the downriggers come with cable. I rip that off, and you know, if you're fishing a lot, the cable will get kinked, and you're gonna get salt water in that kink. It's gonna rust eventually. And so it's a larger diameter cable than if you're running Spectra. This is 200-pound Spectra. So I really like to use the Spectra. You have a lot less blowback. It's easier to do all of your terminal connections. It just makes sense, especially when you're talking about deep water fishing. You know, there's a lot of times where if you're not fishing in that 300 plus depth water and you're not keeping that ball right on the bottom, you're just not going to be in the fish. And that's why the commercial guys are really effective, is they can easily get down to that level and get down there. So, okay, we walk through the downrigger setup. That's the first part. I'm going to take this off the table so we can have a little bit more room here. Set this right over here. All right, so the next piece is your rudder, okay? I still like to attach a rudder. There's really no drag on this. Gives a great side profile to your setup. I've got a snubber, and then that's gonna go to the downrigger ball. Pretty fair, nothing changes in that aspect. The next thing that I will talk about is your release. And to get a closer look at the release, we'll go down to the table, and you can see that this is a little bit different than maybe your standard Scott release. I'll bring it to view as well. Because we're trolling so deep, you really do not want you don't want to spend 20 minutes. You want to spend, you know, good, I don't know, maybe 2 minutes to get down to 400 feet just to have a premature release. And you will get, you know, if you get a little bit of or a cannon release or any of these releases, you know, you get a little bit of grime in there, maybe a shaker hits it but misses it. You don't want that lure to pull out. And so while these pro releases there's a little bit of a learning curve, I'll be honest with you, but once you get it, this will not release from the rod side of the clip. So you can't just pick up your rod and give it a good yank and expect your lure to float to the surface. That's not gonna happen. You're gonna bring it up with the downrigger. But the good thing is that it'll only release if you've got a fish on, okay? And so when you're fishing deep, you really need that kind of security and insurance because of the time it takes you to get down. Okay. The next thing I wanna talk about is how do you select the lure, okay? A lot of times if you are running a regular 11-inch flasher, it is gonna be a lot of drag on that setup, okay? May make it harder to get down, may scope you out quite a ways, it may crab walk your gear if you've got a side current, it may push your gear into your other downrigger, and so you really have to read that situation. And if you can't get down to depth, you have to go away from 11-inch flasher, okay? Something to keep in mind. And so what are some alternatives to that? You've got your fish flash, okay? And this is there's a lot less drag on these guys. And then the other thing that you can also do is you can go with an 8-inch flasher. That's always an option. It's still gonna put off flash, right? And you're gonna notice that when you look a lot of these offerings, a lot of these flashers that I'm fishing deep, you're gonna have glow on it, right? Because you're fishing so deep in the water column that there's not a lot of UV penetration, so you do want some glow. So I downsize my flasher in order to reduce the drag at depth, especially when you're fishing deep. The other way that you can do that is you can go to something like a plug, right? This is a Silver Horde herring aid plug. I mean, you do not run these with a flasher. I put them behind the boat about 50 feet, and that's it. That's the thing about these. There's hardly any drag on them. They operate in about a 4-foot swath back and forth, and you can actually stack multiple plugs on one downrigger that way as well, and not have to worry about tangles and not have to worry about the, the gear sliding off to one side or the other based on the current. It's just a really great option. I tell you what, when the kings are down there and they're in chew mode, you don't need a flasher. You don't need, your best spoon in the water. I love running plugs because when they're eating, and they're eating especially larger baits, plugs are the way to go. They're the way to go. The other thing about a plug, go to the table really quick, point this out. The hooks are big. They're going to be, a better gap and a better throat than your typical, say hoochie rig here, right? So once you hook a fish, especially at depth, you want to keep them on. And the bigger hooks really do a better job of doing that. Something to keep in mind. The other thing that I really want to point out too is that, especially with ocean kings, we like to fish a lot of big spoons. And if you drop that downrigger too fast with a large spoon, what'll end up happening is the drag from the water pressure will lift the spoon up in the water column, and it'll actually hook your line above the downrigger release. And then as soon as you stop the downrigger and look at your rod tip has this really weird flutter to it. That's when you let the downrigger down too fast and the gear is fouled. Okay, so keep that in mind. If you do want to run something big like this, you actually have to go down pretty slow. And that's why I really love running the plugs. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't run bait. The thing is if you don't have a proper brine on your bait, or you have just kind of soft bait, or you decide to cut plug it, or even a whole herring without a head, once that bait's washed off, there's nothing telling you that bait's gone other than you pulling that downrigger all the way back up 400 feet to check to see if your bait's still there. I would say that if you are going to run a bait at that depth, you're going to want to use a setup like this. You're going to want to use a head. And I'm a big fan of these, the Rice Davis heads, and also with the former here, right? This is just a piece of wire that goes the bait that helps you get the curvature of the bait that you desire, and then that way you're pinning the bait in the helmet. You don't have to worry about, well, is it getting washed out? Did I run a cut plug? Did the hooks fall cut plug? This is a pretty solid rig. So I would say if you want to run bait, you can, but I would highly recommend you running it in a helmet. And so those are really your top considerations. There's nothing wrong with running a hoochie. In fact, what I really like to do at those depths is run an ace high fly, especially anything that's got white glow and some flash to it, but primarily glow, something that's really going to stand out. These are a little bit lighter than your standard hoochie, so you get more rapid rotation on one of these than a hoochie that's got some beads and a little bit more weight to it. And you can still run your traditional spoons, just got to be careful if your spoon's on the large scale. And then, if the fish are on larger baits and they're in chew mode, what I call chew mode, I love fishing plugs. You can actually troll these plugs faster as well. You can troll them up to 4 knots without issue to entice the bite. They just fish really well. All right, so we covered kind of like how to fish that deep water. It all starts with the downrigger. You've got to have the right downrigger setup. You've got to have a really heavy ball, and then it's really managing the lure, right? You don't want too much drag on the lure. You have to get it into the zone. To be honest with you, a lot of these deep water fish that we get, once you're in that zone and if there's bait in the area, they're in an active feeding mode. So if you can get it into their zone, it's going to be game on. Halibut fishing out of CQ and running offshore, I've seen the trollers out there, and when you come up on either commercial or tribal trollers and they're out there and they're tacking left and right, they're in a circle, they're making moves, they're catching fish. They're actively catching fish. When you kind of see, you go out there and you kind of look, and they're just kind of spread out, and they're all going maybe one direction. That's kind of a search mode. So you can actually tell by watching them if they're turning left, right, they're on the fish. So kind of keep that in mind as you're running offshore and you're wondering, well, I see that troll over there. Are they in the fish? If they're turning around, tacking, they're in the fish, that indicates that's probably a good spot. You turn on your sonar. Sonar is absolutely key in this game. You know, you can be in 400 feet of water and the kings are at 50 feet. I mean, that does happen, but a lot of times we'll go out there and you'll see that massive bait ball, and it'll be from 300 feet all the way down to 400 feet, 450 feet, and those kings are actively feeding. So you have to get to them. They're not gonna be above that bait ball 300 feet. They're gonna be in that ball. So that's why we're really trying to fish deep with this kind of setup. So hopefully that helps you guys. If not, you know, feel free to reach out to us on YouTube or Facebook, shoot us a message. Be more than happy to help with your deep water setup or any other questions you may have. I'll throw it back to the studio. We'll keep the show rolling.
Defiance boats are built without any structural wood materials. That is why we back our boats with a lifetime warranty. All of our Defiance boats come standard with large fish boxes that are fully insulated so that you can ice your fish properly all day. Defiance boats feature a 21 to 22 degree dead rise at the transom and a large reverse chine for incredible handling and stability offshore. Defiance boats are foam flotation filled and unsinkable for the ultimate in safety while fishing offshore. Defiance boats feature fuel-efficient hull designs with large fuel tank capacity so that you can have maximum fuel range for making long offshore runs completely safe and affordable. All Defiance boats come standard with self-bailing decks for improved safety while at sea. Defiance Boat offers all our boats with Honda outboard packages so that you can take full advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty from your Honda outboard. Defiance boats for all your boating needs, and let us help you get out on the water.
Today, the need for quality private security services is at an all-time high. Contract Security Service provides day-to-day peace of mind as they protect people and property. Phoenix Protective Corporation strives for excellence. Above all, Phoenix security officers are managed by leaders trained to inspire and encourage greatness. Here at Phoenix, we provide service for multiple state and federal contracts, with service ranging from uniform, patrol, alarm monitoring, canine detection, executive protection, as well as investigative work. We here at Phoenix are looking for highly motivated individuals to apply. If you're a vet, retired or active, and would like to work with us, please apply.
Hey, welcome back in studio, closing out the show. Dwayne England, Tommy Donlin. Man, I gave you a workload tonight back in the studio, so I felt like, oh, you know what? Probably turn my mic on. How's that? That a little better?
There we go. I can hear you now.
Now you can hear me.
Wait, tell me again how great I was.
Yeah, no, you missed her.
Oh, shoot. Yeah. Maybe next week I'll get a gold star.
Hey, nice job in there. Guys are asking where you can get the 20-pound downrigger balls from. You can check with Sportco. I'm not sure if they can order them. Nick Pulley, I believe, is on Facebook.
Nick Pulley has a business online. Mm-hmm. Yep. And then I know CMAR has them, Seattle Marine.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Yep.
Also, there's another company out, Shark Weights. So I've been in contact with one of their guys, and I'm supposed to get my hands on a couple of them. They're a 17 to 18 pound weight.
Okay.
And it's designed. It looks more like a fish. It's tapered. It's actually got scale built into it.
Yeah.
Their claim to fame is, one, it doesn't push fish away because it looks like it's supposed to be there.
Yep.
Two, the way the water flows past it, you get 1/3 of the blowback.
Sure, less drag.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I'm gonna give those a try. Obviously, those downriggers that run on the boat will carry that 17, 18 pounder, no problem.
No problem.
And with far less drag for those deep water fisheries, that is definitely something to think about. So look up Shark Weights. I know they have them at Auburn Sports and Marine as one outlet. Unfortunately, they don't have them at Sportco, so you can look at them online as well. But that is the next downrigger ball I'm going with. I'm going to go with those Shark Weights. I think it's going to be a game changer. So trying to get my hands on those before I head to Wyoming. There's guys that run them over there in that reservoir fishery. So some things to think about. Okay, a couple things. There was a notification that came out from WDFW earlier in the week. They got some work, boys, going on habitat issues and resolutions, I guess is the best way to say it, on the Satsop and the Wainuchi River. There's sections of both those rivers that are going to be closed from basically now through till about September. So for summer on Steelhead, you have a couple different sections on the Satsop and the Wainuchi that are closed off. Not so much of a big deal on the Satsop, more so for inner tubers and persons, you know, playing in the water during the summer. But for the Wainuchi, the access will be restricted from the old White Bridge to the Wainuchi-Wishkah crossover bridge. That's about almost a 2.5 mile stretch. If you fish the river often, you're familiar with that stretch. That doesn't surprise me. And also on the Satsop, we're talking from the Schaefer Park access area, which they redid recently, so you have access to that gravel bar boat launch area, all the way down to West Fork, which is a pretty good chunk of river. You're talking pretty much the entire, all of the upper East Fork, which the amount of debris that's built up in both those areas over the last several years, the way the river has channeled and gone out channel, and the erosions of some of the farm fields and whatnot that they've tried to prevent in the past, they're going to go back in. They're going to put in tremendous, boulder buildups, reinsure the shorelines. They're going to probably put big stumps and that type of stuff. Natural woody debris pushed into the soil where it should be for fish habitat restructure. Awesome. So a lot of it has to do with the restoring aquatic habitat in the Satsop and the Wainuchi. Crews will be reconnecting floodplain and off-channel habitats. This helps keep the water cool, and the rivers will, when the fish most needed, enhance the salmon spawning grounds downriver and support overall ecosystem resiliency. So a lot of this work is happening at this time of year, obviously, because of low water, good access for the crews performing the work, and it's going to be pretty extensive with a lot of money going into it. This is part of that habitat restructuring that we talk about from time to time. It's necessary. Those particular two areas on the river have taken quite a beating the last several years, and we get a lot of wood building up because of the way the river has now turned and carved and cut through fields and things. So it's a good thing it's happening in the summer. Yeah, it may hinder your access for a certain stretch of river for summer steelhead action, but in the long run, when we get there for this fall for salmon fishing, those areas will look completely different and probably be more safe and easier to navigate as we get through all the debris. So just for your information, that's happening through September, so be aware of it. Go to WDFW, check out the news stories on their webpage, and you'll get all the info there. Finally, wrapping up the rendezvous, as it were, Tommy. You were out at the ocean. I was at the rendezvous. The Beard came with me. Sherry ended up staying home with Wilson, unfortunately, and the Beard and I headed over. The first night we got there, met up with a few folks. We had too much wind to get out and go fish anything that would have been beneficial. It's like, I'm not even going to go mess around with it. It'd just be frustrating. So we waited. Next morning we headed out to Roosevelt. Roosevelt earlier was fishing better. Now the water is up. It's higher than I've ever seen it in the last several years that I've been going over there. So water is up considerably. The fish are scattered and spread out. A lot of folks are having a hard time struggling locating the kokanee in Roosevelt. We did get one nice kokanee trout that we released, and a couple other takedowns for the 3-4 hours we were out that morning. Then we had the seminars midday, had a handful of folks show up. Wasn't a big turnout like we've had previously, but it was a decent turnout with folks making the drive to come listen to Eric Broughton, a friend of ours that we became acquainted with last year as he put on a phenomenal walleye information for his seminar there at the get-together. Handed out packets of information. I got walleye information for you, Tommy.
Oh, right on.
Because I know you like to read. So we got some really good walleye intel for banks in the region around there from Eric. And it was very well received from the attendees. And Bill Herzog was there. He spoke of Rufus Woods, of course, and then kokanee. He brought out a bunch of kokaneers, spoke about kokanee on Roosevelt and other areas within that region. So all in all, the guys walked away with handfuls of stuff because we had a bunch of stuff to give away that went to very few folks. So they all did good in that regard, met some new faces, appreciated them showing up. It was a good time. That evening we did bomb on up to Rufus where you and I had spent in February with Matt Gray. Now, the difference here, if you're going over now in these warmer months, especially this week as the heat ramps up, and you're fishing Rufus and you're like, why aren't we finding those 7 to 12 pounders, Dwayne and Tommy and the beard we're getting earlier in the season, in the winter? Well, it's because the water is 20 degrees warmer than it was then. The fish are beginning to scatter because of the natural feed and whatever's in the system for them to feed on. They did a release of fish in March. Those fish, 30,000 of them into the reservoir. They are now about 3 pounds. A lot of them are congregated around the pens. We were fishing around the pens. We went the first night with Herzog and his buddy Mike. We all got our fish. We did use bait because the evening was falling on us fast and we wanted to get our fish and get out of there. So put on bait. Everybody got their 2 to 4 pound fish. We headed out. Then we went out the next morning, and that morning bite, the jig bite was on. And for the beard, it didn't matter what he was putting on. He was roping them in. And the nice thing about the jig fishing is you can obviously catch and release. And so we ended up keeping, we had a follower of the show and a gentleman that's become a friend, Steve, joined us. He met us at the hotel, jumped in with me and Jordan. We went up fishing. We got our 6 fish. They're all, 3, I think Jordan got one that was maybe 5 pounds. That's the beauty of the catch and release. Nice. But there's fish rolling all over the place. We actually scaled down to a 1/4 ounce jig.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you
versus
about
the
the flow.
3/8. Yeah. The white snake pattern worked. The white head with the black. The chartreuse head with the black worked. Mid-morning, the black and orange was on fire. Almost every time Jordan was throwing it out, he was hooking a fish. So the black and orange pattern that he created, the black and blue, was phenomenal. Midday, full sun, not midday because we only fished till 11, but say 9 o'clock in the morning when we had good sun on the water, that black and blue was killing it.
So that's what I noticed about our trip, and it sounds like you had similar results. That early in the morning, it's kind of that you got the whiter jigs or maybe the lighter color, brighter color, and then as the sun gets up and high, you're switching over to that blue, purple, black, darker colors that seem to really do well.
Blackhead, yep. So they produced, for crying out loud, the beard was, like I said, he's on fire. He caught him on rooster tails. I'm digging around with other things. He's pitching rooster tails out there and catching fish. We lost a few jigs, of course, to the anchors and whatnot. We made enemies or didn't friend one of the workers at the place. I don't know what we were doing. We're sitting there on anchor. He's powering his boat back and forth, and he was stopping right there, anchoring up in front of us. And he was having a bad day. He's throwing stuff around on the pins. I mean, he's tossing stuff, and he's just all ticked off.
Oh, really?
And he was ripping back and forth, and he had a few words for me, I guess, as we were leaving. I had no idea. Oh, yeah? I had no idea what we did. I'm pretty sure you're not watching the show, so it doesn't matter. But whatever I did, maybe it was the big boat. Maybe, I don't know what it was. Yeah. Really, really infuriated this guy, and I was just like, oh, okay, I have no idea what we did, and I'm not going to change anything we did. But we did, we got our fish. Yes, they weren't the 7 to 12 pounders, but man, you go there, catch and release, you bring home some of them things, fillet them up. They're going to taste every bit as good as those bigger ones we got.
That's what I was going to ask you. Have you had any of them yet?
No.
But the small ones taste as good as the big ones?
Oh, they're phenomenal. They're full of fat.
Right on.
And the marbling is fantastic. The meat is fantastic. Hey, Dakota, how you doing, buddy? Nice that you're tuning in. Appreciate you wearing the Fish Up Northwest swag when you're out with the Washington State Fishing Boys. I appreciate that. So it looks like you got a halibut today too, buddy. Nicely done. Nicely done, Dakota Poorman checking in. That is a great place to go. Take the kids. The jig fishing is pretty easy.
Yeah.
Multiple times. Cast it out, leave the bail open, just let it drop. We're anchored in 20 foot of water. We're fishing 60 foot of water. Just let it drop, close the bail, continue to let it drop, and you'll feel them hit it. Yep. You don't even have to twitch it.
Yep.
They're going to hit it on the drop, so it works pretty well. So same rules apply. Use bait. You retain the first 2 you catch. You use jigs or artificials, rooster tails or whatever. If you're the beard, you can get away with that. You catch and release so you get the fish that you want to keep. But all in all, it was a good time. The rendezvous was a success. Ran into some great followers of the show. They appreciate what we're doing, Tommy, week in and week out. And Coach, as you now are immersed into this whole thing. Huh?
Yeah.
So,
heck yeah.
Anyway, successful, good time. Don't know if we'll do it again. Perhaps. Just depends on how many people ask us to do so. And before we get out of here, one final mention. Saturday the 19th, not only are the oceans opening for salmon, but if you can't get your kids out there, well, then just take them down to Sportco. I just previously mentioned them. Our buddies at Washington State Fishing, Jason Humble and the fellas and ladies, the kids' trout pond down at Sportco.
Oh, right on.
9 a.m. to 5 p.m., kids' trout pond, Sportco. It's all free, sponsored by Washington State Fishing. Do yourself a favor, get down there, get the kids fishing, go in, buy some gear. Salmon season is here. If you haven't got your 3 and 4 or maybe 5-aught hooks for your herring rigs, if you haven't got your different jigs that you want to be tossing out there, if you haven't got your flashers, this stuff's going to go fast.
Yeah.
It's going to go very fast.
And then they do have a full selection now of Pro Troll flashers, but I don't think they're going to last very long.
I think they're going to blow out the door here pretty quick, including the 8-inch ones, which are ideal for those resident coho, which we will be fishing in the next few weeks. So, Coach, Mitch, can't thank you enough.
I appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you coming in, man.
Excited to be part of the family, man.
Yeah, it's going to be good. We're going to get people in shape. They're going to enjoy the outdoors. Get fit, get outside, get outdoors. Hey, also, if you are struggling and have been kind of lurking and trying to figure out what we're doing in the realm of fitness and losing weight, we do have a program that we have been utilizing, and I say we as in me and Shing, and we've been sharing it with a handful of folks. We got about 30 people have jumped on the program now, and all have lost weight. If that's kind of your hang-up until you get back into the whole workout deal, if you want to lose a few extra pounds, hit us up. Message us here at Fish Hunt Northwest. Message me on my personal Facebook page. Message Sherry for the ladies if you choose to. We do have a program we've been utilizing. Love to share it with people. It's going to get a good kickstart for you going. Couple, 2-3 months, you're going to drop whatever goals you have set. We're going to help you achieve it. So get the weight off. Begin the workout programs, get in shape, enjoy the outdoors. That's what it's all about. So, want to lose that weight, hit us up here at Fish Hunt Northwest or on my page. We'll get you steered in the right direction. Tommy, thanks for showing up this week, buddy.
Hell yeah, glad to be here.
We'll see you back next week. We got a great guest coming in. We're going to talk about some boats.
Yes, we do.
We're going to talk about some boats next week. You're going to want to definitely tune in for this show. Not to mention a lot of fish talk as well, because with boats comes fish.
That's right.
That's the goal. Anyway,
That's right.
Mitch, thanks again.
Yeah.
All right, we're signing out. 2-hour show. We haven't done that in a while. Appreciate everybody hanging on there.
Thanks a lot, Mitch.
Let me talk. Let a coach talk. He'll talk forever. Right?
That's right.
Yeah, it's okay. It's all right. It's good intel. And go to the Rack Facebook. Go to the Rack. See him there. All right, we'll see you guys next week. Have a great week. Post your pictures with us. Take care. Be safe. See you next Thursday.